Hello, Mechwarriors, and welcome to the Mech Bay, where we fix your mech and fix your game. You either hydrate or you dihydrate.
Classic.
What's going on, Mechwarriors? I'm your host, Josh, and I've got my co-hosts Denham and Dustin with me today.
How's it going, Mechwarriors?
And today we are talking games. 6 games, to be specific. 2 days. Alpha Strike.
Winston-Salem.
We're talking about Southern Assault 3, brought to you by Fortress Miniatures and Games, our biggest tournament of the year, which I think had 80 Mechwarriors playing? 82.
That's big.
The 2 last-minute entries. Yeah, I guess you have to count them.
Yeah.
You do. And they were there. They were on the list. They count. 82.
Have gotten back from that. We have recovered, and now we are going to be debriefing all of our listeners on that wonderful gaming experience. But first, as always, to get that Battle Mech coolant flowing, we've got some hobby news, some hobby progress, and some fan mail. So let's start off with some BattleTech news. First off, now available, we have BattleTech Adventures Ghost of Obida.
It's a super secret planet. Shh, don't tell anyone.
It's a pair of secret planets, and they only gave us one of it, which kind of feels, like, where's the rest of the planet?
Where's the rest of my secrets?
Got to read to find out.
Yeah. So this is a little like $3 like adventure for like more. It's definitely designed more for like the MechWarrior RPG, but definitely can be introduced to like anything, classic or Alpha Strike, whatever. You almost got me, Jenna, but I'm like, no. But this, I'm not going to spoil too much because it's like a $3 read. I feel like it'd be very rude, but this,
I appreciate that.
This details kind of the last days of the Word of Blake. Like, we all know they fought on Terra and then they kind of just vanished from history. This kind of fills in the gaps and kind of like, okay, this is how an organization that owned a lot of property just up and disappears.
Yeah, I've only read what's on the back of the book, and to me, it seems like it might even have like some general sequel or tie-in to the Necromo Nightmare. I'm not sure yet, but I'll find out. I'll find out once I am able to either give it a playthrough or play through it.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be real.
But fun. I always like stuff that they release for because I know this covers the Time of War RPG, but it also has MechWarrior Destiny stuff in there. So
supporting all their systems.
That's super cool. Yep.
Is this like a Halloween spooky time? Because it did release in like October, right?
That's what I was thinking, because that's when Necromo Nightmare came out, was also a Halloween type of thing.
It's as close as we get to the Halloween special for this year.
Nice.
Which is pretty close. I mean, what's scarier than Word of Blake hanging around when the lore is getting into Ill Clan?
Yeah, my problem is that it's Ghosts of Obida, and I spent a lot of time playing Ghosts of Tsushima, so I always want to say that instead.
It just feels wrong, right? Like,
but I know what I'm talking about. So,
alrighty, but no, that sounds fun. Like I said, it's a lore snippet with a little action. It's perfect for debriefing after 2 days of gaming.
And so nobody writes in about it. It is in fact $1.99, not $2.99.
What? It's even cheaper than I thought.
It
wow.
Is. It is $2.
It's $2.
That's cheap, Captain.
Yeah, that's probably the cheapest thing we've ever gotten.
No, the coloring books were free.
I knew you would come in with free.
Chaos Campaign. Free.
Stop it. Next thing you're going to say is Camo Specs Painting Guide.
Well, yeah. Well, that one they paid us for, but
no, we paid them in Kickstarter money. Anyways, we're moving on. Next thing, we've got miniatures out. We have the corrected Rifleman and the corrected Phoenix Hawk premium miniatures. So if we all remember, they were both mini.
Oh, the Phoenix Hawk was too?
The Phoenix Hawk had weird skinny legs, from what I remember.
Okay. The Phoenix Hawk, if I remember, was close to the same height, but the volume of everything was just really thin.
Yeah. I think my biggest problem with that re-release is the picture they have of the Phoenix Hawk, because they've got 2 of them, one standing, one crouching, and it looks like they've got a large laser for each arm. Like on one of them, it's the right arm, and the other one is the left arm. But I think they just took a picture and did a mirror image to make it look better in the picture.
Strange.
But as I recall, there is only a right arm. There are 2 right arm large lasers and 0 left arm large lasers.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten my rifle man. I'm happy with my rifle boy, but I don't know. Maybe I'll pick up another one. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm not picking another one up yet. The rifle boy, I'm very happy with that. I like my 50 tonner.
It's a primitive.
The N1.
Yeah.
1N.
Wee lad. Just a little guy. All right. Next is like BattleTech adjacent, but really focuses on BattleTech.
We all care about this.
We all care,
We do.
which hurts the worst.
Yes.
Harebrained Schemes, the producers of the BattleTech computer game, have left Paradox, and unfortunately Paradox will retain the rights to the BattleTech game for now.
Yeah.
So
Really?
that kind of puts a knife into the BattleTech HBS 2 for now.
And I loved that game too. I liked it so much, and I think they could have done a great job with a Clan Invasion sequel or whatever. There was a lot of places they could have gone. I know the mods are out there. The mods are fantastic.
Doesn't have the story.
But to know we are not going to get anything more official, like, it's a bummer. I got some really cool stuff from that Kickstarter too. So I was hoping for like a Clan Invasion Kickstarter for the HBS game. I was hoping. Made me sad.
Yeah, the story from BattleTech is it the best? Is it out of all of the BattleTech video games?
Yeah, I mean, we got the Arano, House Arano.
So that studio would have done something similar, and it would have been awesome. Yeah, you can stick clan mechs in the first game and call it Clan Invasion, but doesn't have the story, doesn't have the art, the new music.
Right.
Yeah.
The story is so good.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, the soundtrack. I got that in my car. I listened to that soundtrack driving.
Excellent
it's great.
soundtrack. We could have had more, but the future is hazy.
Yeah, so that's dead for now. Who knows? We'll have to wait for PGI to release their MechWarrior 5 Clan Invasion game where we all play Smoke Jags.
Just 6 little numbers and I can fix everything. Six numbers in a $2 billion lottery.
Yeah. All righty. Let's move on to some hobby progress. I think that's it for news. I'll wrap this up with like a little teaser, but
tease me.
The word on the street is the Kickstarter is going smoothly, and we should be seeing it more soon than we've talked about in the last episode. Like, very early in the year.
Wait a minute. Last episode, I believe, we're like, look, it says it's shipping now. So, no, not quite that soon.
Yeah. Well, some things did ship now, and those things were not supposed to. Leather books.
To me. Yeah, and they went to distributors who then most of them pulled it before it got sent to any place. But yeah,
this wasn't the good stuff. No models. But yeah, so word on the street, early next year. So just a month or two. Yeah, let's move on to some hobby progress now. All right, Dustin, you're the first person to write something down on this on the show notes. So why don't you go into that?
Okay, how's this pronounced? Is it Gawain? Gawain?
I'm gonna go with Gawain.
Okay, I think it's Gawain. Yeah, it's another. I think this is an assault class. Mech, another custom mech from Fortress Miniatures and Games. So everybody who went out got one of those, a Gawain, and it wasn't even up on the store or anything. So I kind of got home and I hadn't even really gone through my goodie bag because it's just, pedal to the metal when you go to Southern Assault. And I dug it out of there and I'm like, oh, another Percival. And I was like, wait a second, not another Percival. So I got that assembled. I got some base coats and I'm starting in on painting it. That's all I've got so far. I've been mostly relaxing. The post Southern Assault, no miniatures stuff for like a week. Yeah, I just did a little bit of that. How about you guys?
Oh man, I mean, I finished painting all of my Southern Assault lists for the things I took.
Oh, I guess we're counting that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So I also finished stuff up.
Nobody wants to hear about that in hobby progress because that's like hobby deadline.
That's true.
In my brain. I did begin repainting some things because I think last time I mentioned that I'm not super happy with my Raven Alliance paint scheme, and I was just like, the lore is wrong for like colors that I like.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we're going baby blue, and we're doing it like really grungy. I literally put paint on a Kingfisher that I've had 3 coats of paint already on through the airbrush, and I'm like, this is the last one, like whether I like it or not. And it looks fine. Okay. I finished up one mech, my War Crow, and I really liked it. Like, it was kind of that point of like, okay, I was happy with this all the way through.
Nice.
Like it's got that baby blue. It's got like very light white edge highlighting and really dirty, grungy, like oily wash in the crevices.
I like a good grungy, oily wash.
Exactly.
I like it a lot.
It's a lot more simpler, but it's a lot more aesthetically pleasing on the table. That's the big one. I'll talk about my other things after my post Southern Assault hobby progress, after the games talk.
Nice.
What about you, Denham? What have you gotten painted or progressed lately?
Yep, we got the whole worldwide event map finished. So all the 3D hills are printed, all the trees are printed and painted. Everything did a test assembly, and it looks super good. All the mechs that are going to be at the event are almost done being painted. I think all that's really left is flocking, making the bases look nice. But that's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've been focused on, is just making that event good and making sure that my campaign days run smoothly, which is definitely hobby progress.
Excellent.
That'll be awesome. Can't wait to play.
I know, it's going to be cool.
And what date is the worldwide event supposed to start?
It started October 31st, goes to December 31st. I can run it anytime in there and have it count towards the tallying of the results.
So anyone can find a CDT agent and hold them against their will and just say, hey, you're legally obligated to play a worldwide event with me.
That is correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You get in their face. I know that some of them are running it on Megamech. So if you can't get to a store, you should be able to find places where Megamech is running it. You can find that on the bg.battletech.com. If you go to the forums there and ask around, you'll find people who are running it through that and links appropriately.
That's awesome. Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Okay. Let's move on to some hobby mail.
Nice.
We've got one in this time. We've got Drayton Jones writes, hey, Josh, Dustin, and Denham. My dad was in Raleigh recently, and he blessed me with a visit to Hangar 18 Hobbies. Y'all weren't there, unfortunately. Anyways, the guys there were apparently super sweet. Shout out to Marcus, manager of Hangar 18. They were really kind and gave us 8 free 3D printed minis that they weren't allowed to sell. I couldn't be there, but I just wanted to put it out there. Please say thanks to Marcus for us. Thanks, Drayton.
That's awesome. Yeah, everybody just come visit. If we're there, I would love to say hi to anyone who comes by.
You practically live there anyway, so I mean,
well, on Tuesdays, I'm there. I'm there every Tuesday afternoon,
except the one time that I was there.
Yeah, because you were coming. I know. Yeah.
I just need it pointed out there. It's like, Denham is a liar. Don't believe his lies.
Second Saturday of the month is also a big BattleTech day, and I'm there from open until close on the second Saturday of the month, because that's our campaign day, and anybody is allowed to come in, drop in, sit down, roll some dice. I turn no one away.
We'll put that to the test.
Yeah.
Do it. Challenge accepted.
Because most of this is going to be us talking about Southern Assault, and you said you'd feel too sad to hear us just going on for like 2 hours talking about those games. So we'll let you fill in for, you did get games in during that time.
Oh, I did. I did. I got my campaign day was this past week, and that was 10 hours of games. I ran 3 different tables throughout that day, and each one lasted about 3 hours. So that was pretty intense. Yeah. Enjoyed that a lot. And then also the regular Tuesday pickup games. I think we've had 2 of those since last time we recorded this.
What were people playing?
Unless one was Halloween, in which case the store closes early on Halloween.
One was Halloween.
The awesomest. But yeah, most of the people were just doing classic pickup games. I know one person was looking for some Alpha Strike to because they weren't able to go to Southern Assault. They wanted to test out their army against people who had no Solaris this past week, which was a little sad, but I understood. And we'd totally be doing more blind boxes, but we are currently out of stock for blind boxes because it's super popular. And we're waiting for the next big shipment of blind boxes to come in to play more of that.
I always see like, oh, we got like 37 blind boxes in, and then they're gone. I'm like, you guys move through those blind boxes.
When they go 37 blind boxes, they mean they get 37 pallets. Like each of those is 9 blind boxes. So you multiply 37 by 9, and that's how many they go through in about 4 months.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, that sounds fun.
It is a lot. Yep, I can't wait till the Kickstarter, the Mercenary Kickstarter blind boxes come in to get some more mechs into it.
Spice it up.
And then they separate them from the vehicles, so we know when we're going to get vehicles or not. It's not a random mech vehicle. So you either get a vehicle blind box or a mech blind box.
That should be lots of fun.
So that's going to work out really well. Super excited to get some more variety of mechs thrown in there.
Can't wait. I just really can't wait.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
An all vehicle blind box game is something I'm super excited about.
It's going to be wild.
Now, for that, I'm not going to do BSP rules. For that, I would do regular classic Total Warfare.
It's going to be tank treads all over the place.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. But when I throw the vehicles into campaigns, it's always going to be BSPs because campaign days, I don't have time. I don't have time for full vehicle rules. Yeah, BSPs are a godsend for that.
I did them. I went into them like no homework. They're fine.
Yeah, they are not.
They are fine.
People were complaining about a Gauss rifle turret sitting up on a hill that just wouldn't die. That's not what we need in a campaign game.
What was I going to say? Dustin, have you gotten any games lately?
No.
Not counting
Southern Assault. Yeah. That is all I've played in the past like 2 weeks, I think, since last recording. So negative.
All right, but let's get rolling on some Southern Assault because we got 12 games to talk about.
Yes,
Denham, I'm sorry you couldn't join.
Nope. Yeah, I was going to say, hold on there. I want to listen to this in the car later. I don't want there to be any spoilers. I'm actually looking forward to listening to this episode, but I'm gonna head out. I've got a mission I got to drop on. So you fellas have a great time, and I can't wait to hear about this.
All right,
tomorrow.
All right, now that he's gone, we can talk about everything and all the fun we had.
All the fun.
I had fun. Did you have fun?
Of course. Southern Assault is always a blast. I had a great time. So yeah.
And you haven't even been to like the other things like Adepticon or Nova yet.
I really want to try to get out to some, Southern Assault is like a BattleTech con almost, but
it was more so this year than any other year.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I'm gonna just start it out. The third one, this one was my favorite one that I've been to.
Excellent. Yeah. This was definitely huge Southern Assault. There was so many people there. The atmosphere was buzzing constantly. There was just a ton of nerd power going on there, and the whole garage sale thing was fun, awesome. I was a good boy. I didn't spend any money in there. But
what a loser.
Yeah. Hanging out was great as always. I think we had the hanging out part kind of streamlined. It was good. We had a regular amount of pizzas on Friday night this time. We didn't have too many pizzas, and Saturday dinner was great. We heated that room up. We hotboxed that place with like 30 nerd bodies.
Look at him. He's already just like running through all the days right now.
Do you want to do it day by day?
Yeah, I love doing it day by day.
Okay, well let's start with Friday. We're getting in there.
Right.
But yeah, we show up.
So for those of us who may not have heard any of our previous episodes, Southern Assault is the largest Alpha Strike / largest BattleTech tournament event.
I think you could just leave
in
it
the
there.
country.
Yeah.
I'm country world. It's pretty good. It is hosted by Fortress Miniatures and Games. and it's hosted in Winston-Salem, which is just like an hour and change drive for us, it feels dirty. Like it almost feels like cheating.
It's incredibly convenient. I'm very happy it's in
It's
our backyard.
Too convenient.
Yeah.
But so Rob at Fortress, he runs a amazing show, and we have gone to the last two. I won best overall year one, best overall year two, second best overall year two. And this was year three, and we were just like there to have fun this time, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I have all colors of shirts from all Southern Assaults, and I got them the legit way. I didn't buy them at the garage sale. So I like to wear my orange shirt on day two to represent. Like I was one of the 30 something people that was there. Yes, Josh had to talk me into it the first time around, but I was there.
How was your drive up there?
Drive was traffic. I think we both had the same kind of experience where I was, I've been to Southern Assault twice now. So the hype train isn't really chugging along because I know what I'm getting I know it's going to be a good time, but I'm not getting those chemicals. But about 2 hours before I left at work, I was getting really, really excited, got on the road. GPS says it's like 2.5 hours away. I was like, that seems long. And I think it took maybe 2 hours and 40 minutes. So there was about 40 minutes worth of traffic. Kind of took the wind out of my sails. I think it took the wind out of your sails too, but
it did not. My problem was I was waiting on a shipment of like handout, like here you go
patches,
swag. Yeah, I was handing out swag, and the FedEx delivery truck I was pretty much watching. I was like, delivery by 2:30. I was like, that's great. I took a half day. Like I told my boss, I was like, hey, it's that once a year tournament thing, and like
I'm taking off.
We going.
Yeah, I got out an hour early, but yeah. I didn't make the same mistake I made last year. I didn't grab like a snack before rolling in to meet everybody. I knew we were going to be having dinner afterwards, after the gym closed down Friday night. So I got there, kind of perked back up once I was there. Did you see? I think the Friday night tradition is you roll in, and what's happening, Josh? What happens when you roll in?
We've got both friends of the podcast, Steve Maisel and Lord Carbon with the MRC, aka the Pizza Lawyer versus the MRC, and they're doing their charity Crabs versus Hunchbacks event, which this year raised more than $1,000.
Yeah. So congrats to you guys on raising some money for a great cause.
I think the tagline is Crabs win, Hunchbacks win, whoever wins, charity wins, or something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, I rolled in a little later than I wanted to, probably around 7 because of all the traffic. Hung out for the end of Crabback. Met up with my roommate because I had just put out the call to the Mech Bay community as like, I need a roommate because I'm cheap.
Yeah, we completely failed on the like getting a place this time.
Yeah.
We were dealing with other things, and it's like, Crabback, Southern Assault, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
We did not get there when we wanted to get there.
Yeah.
But no, my traffic was also terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I think at one point I screamed into my phone's messenger and was like, I drive up a mile and my estimated time for arrival like goes up the same amount of time. Like it is exponentially increasing.
Yep.
I am not making any progress here.
Yeah. Similar situation. Yeah. Traffic wasn't great, but
yeah. So did you get to watch any of the Crabback charity event?
Just the very end. I really only caught like a turn or two. I think I was unpacking or doing something real quick. Got the mic out. So you guys will hear a little bit of that when we get to the field recordings segment. But yeah, I think that was pretty much it. And then packed up, talked to some people, kind of coordinated where we were going. There was the whole bar situation. So it took a lot of combined brain power and haggling to figure out which bar and pizza joint the crowd was going to go to, right?
Yeah, because apparently a lot of people wanted to come with us, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of people. And I'm like frantically Googling which pizza place or bar can fit 40 plus people.
And
we found them. We
did. And I think we ended up with 15 or 20 people, which is good because we used all the chairs and then some in a pizza joint, but we kind of picked a strip mall situation because we were worried that there wouldn't be parking downtown. I still haven't been downtown, so you probably scouted it out this year, and you could let us know. Because you, after having pizza, went to the bar, right?
Yeah. I called ahead and was like, "Hey, I got a caravan of thirsty Mechwarriors."
Yeah. And how much Tenbiki Dark do you have?
And they didn't respond to my phone, but they did respond to my email, which I thought was even more hilarious.
Really?
And they were like, "Yeah, come on down."
Awesome.
But that was awesome. Got to hang out with everyone. It's great to like see everyone because you only like see these people like once a year in person.
Yep. Get to shake hands, put names to Discord handles,
Yeah. But yeah, that was night one. And why did you leave early? Why, Dustin?
Because I go to sleep at 9 p.m. these days.
No, that is not why. Why did you leave?
Yes, I also wanted to do a little bit of touch-up works, which I did. I did about an hour. I brought a desk lamp and the relevant paints and my palette and brushes, and I just wanted to tidy a couple of things up before.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
Why can't you believe it? That seems totally plausible to me.
No, it's because I did that same thing for Nova and Adepticon where I took brushes and paints, and it's like, at this point, I'm like, no, if it even falls off, if all the paint magically just fell off the model, I would not care anymore.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm there. I'm not doing any more work.
I did. I settled down. I skipped the bar because we were heading out, or you guys were heading out for real around my bedtime. Did a little brush work, got settled in for the night, got to meet my roommate, super cool. And yeah, I think I got to bed around 10:30. I was snoozing. My roommate got to commandeer my setup and get some painting done on his stuff too. I think he was up much later than me. Well, maybe 12 or 1 or something like that. But yeah. How about you?
It's Friday night. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I slept on a couch because my roommate snored.
There you go.
Oh, man. But yeah, then we woke up and we actually went to Southern Assault 3. The best BattleTech tournament of them all.
The best.
Yeah. So first off, let's go into the event like as a whole. This year was 375 points of BattleTech. You had to choose a faction. You had to choose an era.
Faction and era locked. Yep.
Faction and era locked. You got one salvage pass, which was anything in the same era that was like roughly adjacent to your faction. So like Lyrans could take something from Draconis Combine or, Merrick's, something like that. But you couldn't have like a Lyran taking Homeworld clan tech kind of stuff. Like keep it lore appropriate. Like this is kind of the like, hey, this is my mech. And it's like, all right, why do you have this? And you kind of have to give your like a little bit of homework answer, like justify why it's salvage and not just cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the only new thing this year. I think the rest of the list comp position restrictions were the same outside of faction and era. Like 5 max infantry,
5 max protomechs. Yep. I think it was like 8 max vehicles and
12 max
10 or 12 max.
I think it's 12.
Max. Yeah, it's like like you can take all max and it's fine.
Yeah,
like,
a company, you're good to go. Yeah, I think all that stuff was the same. So it was a pretty kind of like solidified Southern Assault 375 tournament with the salvage pass this year.
Yeah. What's it? Rules wise, no special pilot abilities, no special command abilities, no lance abilities,
no experimental.
And the only other one I'm thinking is a max of 2 skill 2 and a max of 2 skill 7.
Yes.
And a max of 2 artillery with a total of 2.
Yeah. ARTIS 2 total. So you can take 2 1s or 1 2. Yeah.
Yep.
You get 2 plates. They're not plates.
You get 2 pies.
Yeah, you get 2 pies.
Whichever size you want, but you only get a total of 2 pie.
Oh, you don't get the big pie though.
No long toms.
No long toms.
I had a few people mention that were like, man, I really wish I could take long toms. It's like you allow that every single table. Every single table. You don't want that.
I would want it.
You want that until you want that.
But it would be rough. Everybody would bring a long tom. Everybody'd have the dinner plate. It would make for a different and interesting meta, and probably less happy people.
I played it I did not play with a Long Tom at BTCC Adepticon, but it was an option, and I just still chose not to.
Wow.
Because I was like, I don't want to be that guy. But it was allowed as a BSP option, and it was essentially like you could throw all your BSPs into a single Long Tom, and I think I did that like once or twice. It never worked out because it's, you know,
it's a high,
a 9-up.
Yeah,
it's a 9-up or something to hit, and I was like, oh,
that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, some other small tweaks this year. The heat damage was tied to the dice this time, so you had to declare your alternate ammo types on the dice. I think that was a little different. Maybe it wasn't different.
That was the same. I just don't think you played as much heat last time or something.
And there was one other thing. Front-loaded initiative. That's huge.
Oh, yes.
Huge.
That was a last-minute change.
And I don't know about you, but I didn't really have any feelings about it either way going into the tournament, but after playing it, I loved it. It was great.
It was great, and I don't think anyone had a problem with it because at the start of every turn, you and your opponent had to like count out on your fingers how many units you had and do the math of like, okay, you won, so you have to have one at the end. And then like you worked your way, and it's like there were no initiative bad feelings. Like it was perfect. I loved it. That part was great. The fact that I won initiative, I want to do the math and say like 2/3 of the time means it benefited me less because I could only move one, which was also fine. Yeah. So I thought it was great. First time like I've really hardcore used front loaded.
Yeah. The part I really liked about front loaded initiative this time was just the mental load is less. When you're playing the by the rules initiative, you have to keep track of it every time you move, or every turn of moving, every I go, you go, or every I move, you move, you check again. Do you have twice as many? Which isn't a huge deal, but it does add to the game. So you just get it done ahead of time at the front, and then you don't have to be worrying about it. I still messed up occasionally and ended up with the wrong number of mechs at the end, but you know, your opponent and you guys always work it out, and you're like, oh, I won initiative, I should be moving last, so you got to move a little extra. But yeah, much better. I greatly preferred it. So yeah,
that's good.
The proof was in the pudding, and it was good. That one more quick change, and this was more of an errata thing. Battle armor could move half of their movement after they got, so it was like kind of a in between.
But that's an Alpha Strike rule, not a Southern Assault.
Oh, okay,
rule.
That's fair. But it was different this year.
You can tell Dustin does not play Alpha Strike on the regular.
The Alpha, yeah, of course. My Alpha Strike errata updates come at Southern Assault. So for Southern Assault, battle armor could load, the mech could move, and the battle armor could unload and shoot, and that sucked. And then Southern Assault 2, they couldn't do that anymore. In Southern Assault 3, now they could start loaded, get dropped off, move a little bit, and shoot. So it was like a kind of an in-between. But
the big takeaway is the game is very different now when taking battle armor, because they don't count for initiative when on the mech.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
That was that used to technically rules as written be as all, and now also when you dismount them, they get half their movement and their full TMM.
Yeah,
if they move more than an inch.
Yeah,
so that's it
different.
Changes the game completely.
Yep.
The meta completely changed, and it's going to be interesting to see how we talk about it.
I was sad, but I'll talk about why I was sad about that particular rule interaction, I think, for Thunderdome. But
there you go.
There we go.
All right. Do we want to talk about what we decided to take?
Of course.
To Southern Assault.
People want to hear what we brought.
Yeah. Let me go first.
I like hearing about people's lists.
It's actually my favorite thing too. Like, what is going on in your brain? Why would you take this? Yeah. All right. So I took Dark Age Raven Alliance, this was me trying to redeem my Adepticon list.
Okay.
Because I took them there for like, was it 3 games? And I was like, this is okay. But I didn't love how they performed in those 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, I can do better, or I can at least play more with you guys in Alpha Strike.
Okay.
So I took a Warcrow A at skill 3, a Warcrow B at skill 3, a White Raven at skill 3, and a Carrion Crow D at skill 4. And I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to pause and be like, all those are crit resistant.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I'm paying like 64 PV for each of the heavies and then 40 for the medium. But it's like the crit resistant though, man.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that later.
All right.
In my games. Then we move on to like the not special stuff. A Ryokan / Stormcrow C at skill 4. 2 squads of Stormbird battle armor skill 4. A Gossamer VTOL at skill 4. And 2 Rock Mark 5s at skill 4. Nice. So I took 2 Protomechs, a VTOL, 2 battle armor.
So you had like a mixed Nova situation?
Yeah, it was.
Hey man, it's the Dark Ages, right?
Yeah, no, it's a Dark Age, and I was like, oh man, I could really make this like a true Nova, and I was like, just take what you want. This is like Southern Assault. This is literally when you get to like, all right, you take 6 or take a list of whatever, and you run it for 6 games, like it or not. And I was like, all right, we're gonna take fun things. So I actually went out and bought a Mechwarrior Clicks Gossamer VTOL, like the plastic one, because I was like, well, there's no good proxy and there's no good no metal model for it. So okay, I'll take that. That's like the Raven produced VTOL. I have never taken VTOLs before. So I was like, I'm gonna take one this time.
Try it out, give it a little taste.
I'm gonna try it out. I really liked my Protomechs at Adepticon, so I was like, we'll take 2 more this time.
Nice.
The good part was at this one I did not have to take the full point, all 5 minimum. So I was like, that was the key. I was like, oh, I don't want to take all 5. I could, but I don't want to.
Just take 2.
So I just took 2. Took my 2 favorites. I took 2 Rock 5s. Those are awesome. They jump 14 for TMM 5 total.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they get 1 damage out to medium. They got 2 health, 1 armor, 1 structure, and they jump for 14 with jump strong. And those are my 2 jump strong limits, because you can only take jump strong up to 2. I was like, okay, I could take this on a mech, but everyone would hate me. I wouldn't feel good about myself. But if I take jump strong on a Protomech, no one looks at you funny.
Yeah.
The VTOL was great. The VTOL didn't even have turret. It's a 3/3.
Yep.
It's fine. The Stormbirds, they were the only source of heat I even had.
Okay.
Like they move 4 inches. Like they get TMM 0.
Oh.
The cool thing about them is they just do 3 damage out to medium. And I was like,
that's good.
All right, so you guys are like, if I drop you, y'all can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like
have fun.
24 inches threat range. And then, like I said, I got the 5 mechs, which are really just like a little bit of speed, a little bit of jump, a little bit of flak. They're nothing special. The really special thing is the crit resistance for extra tankiness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is my list. My thoughts on it were really mainly redemption for Adepticon.
Okay. Nice.
What about yours? How was your list this year?
So my list, I kind of had to, I didn't have as much time as I wanted to paint. So I had to switch up my intended list to, which I'm kind of glad I did anyways, because the original list I had for Southern Assault was basically the same or a slightly watered down version of what I took last year. And I just decided to switch that up. And that's what I did. And I'm glad I did that. So no infantry this year. I did not bring infantry. What I did bring was a Vulture Mark IV D. Everybody knows what that thing does. It's a 962 TMM2 crit resistant. A special note on the Vulture Mark IV and my Spider is that I forgot crit resistance on my Vulture like 50% of the time, and I forgot.
Oh no!
Yeah, I forgot jump strong on my Spider the other 50% of the time. Like the whole game 3.
My brother and Blake.
I know.
That's why you take those.
No, games like 3, 4, and 5. I kept on putting TMM4 on my Spider when it gets a 5. But anyways, I brought the Vulture. I brought a Cougar F, which is just a it's called a brawler, but I call it a not a striker. Striker moves fast. What's the surprise? Pinata. No, SRM carrier. Ambusher. Yeah, my Cougar was my Cougar F. I kind of think of it as an ambusher. I brought.
Is that the one that does like 6 damage in short?
640.
Okay, that's the one I took last year.
It's a good Cougar. I like it.
I like how you really like Vulture Mark 4D. I took that last year. Cougar F. Yeah, I also took that last year. What else you got there, Dustin?
Urban Mech Arrow 4. Did you take that last year?
I did not. That's your personal flavor.
I did. So this is the second year the Urban Mech artillery unit came out. What can I say? I love my token artillery. The Spider 8R, jump strong, 20-inch jump. Nothing special there. A Cyclops 12K with a standard engine. So kind of my tanky guy, 5.52. Could reach out a little bit. I think that's the only long range damage I have in my list. Yes, I have 2 long range damage in this list. Loki D, everybody knows what that does. 2 heat at long range. I brought so this was fun. Mercenaries can take this weird mech called a Komodo 2, which has AMS, ECM, and tag. And it's a 5.50 with TMM 2 and jump jet, 10-inch movement. What a weird little guy.
I fought one and I was like, knowing because I had fought you in your practice game, I was like, that Komodo is scarier than you think.
Yes, it is.
That's a priority.
That little... and most of my opponents figured that out and got rid of it because it's only 4 armor, 2 structure. King Crab 11, I finally got to bring it. So it has all armor, no structure. And it's a 4.40 with flak 3.30. And then 2 vedettes, the rack vedettes 2.20. And 2 cavalry attack helicopters. So these go 20 inches. They get the TMM 5 all day with the VTOL bonus and 2.20. So not too spicy in the VTOL department. And that was my list. So I kind of switched out the infantry for some tankier, heavier hitting mechs this year. And that's what I rolled with. And it was just a good all around list. Nothing special. A little bit of artillery tricks, a little bit of jump strong tricks, a little bit of ECM, and a little bit of flak, and some objective. It was a company this year too, so I had 2 lances of mechs and a vehicle lance, and the vehicle lance was auxiliary, and that's what they did. They did objective work and harassment.
Yeah, that's what they did, and they kicked my butt in our practice game.
Yeah. So that was my list this year. Do you want to get into the games?
Let's get into the games.
All right.
So game 1, we roll up, and as is tradition, it is
meeting.
Let's get those juices flowing, and it's just death match. And the entire goal is kill more of your opponent than they kill of you.
Yep. Mission 1, kill. So it's
kill, but don't die.
Yeah.
And there were some secondaries in there. They might come into play in our highlights,
and they will in mine.
We won't. Yeah. So I played Anthony with the Charleston BattleTech boys, Charleston, West Virginia.
Nice.
And they brought Jade Falcons. They brought 2 Butcher Birds, a Black Hawk L, an Arctic Cheetah T, 2 Elemental Flamers, 2 Elemental 3s, AP Goth, and Aller 5 or Aller V. Do we call it a 5 or a V?
It's the one with artillery, right?
Yeah, it's the one with artillery.
I took that the first year. Yeah. He's a good boy.
Turkina E, a Dasher C, and his 1 salvage pass was a Stormbird battle armor, just like me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you dirty Falcon. That's our variant. You've got your own.
So this list sounds like 3 really fast units, plus the Stormbird, so maybe 4 for auxiliary, a little bit of artillery, and a thick lad and friends.
That Turkina be doing some hurt, sir.
Yes. So how'd your game go?
My game went well, but it was constantly like on the razor's edge. Like nice. the whole way. It was, our table was like a whole bunch of like lava, like spires or whatever. So there wasn't like a huge like line of sight blocking like for like a foot or anything. It was just like you get to hide and you can cover maybe like your hex edge. Mm-hmm. And that was it. So there wasn't like a lot of room to hide. So I had to get a little aggressive, but his guys were just so much faster. Like I think turn 2, his Butcher Birds were just like, all right, they're going last and they're dropping elementals. Then those elementals are jumping and either anti-meching you or shooting you. And I was like, thanks. I really hate this. I was like, I don't mind the shooting, but they jump in and get in their full TMM, and then of course they're jumping right behind me into my back arc. I was like, bro, I'm getting mad now. He definitely had more elementals than me, which definitely like was just more frustrating as well.
Yeah,
like they don't move a lot, but every time he would drop one, it'd jump into my back arc, and I was like, stop getting into my back arc. So I kind of had like a weird like defense in depth kind of strategy where my more mobile, tankier, like crit resistant guys were up front, and the VTOLs, the rocks, and the Stormbirds were kind of in the back trying to deal with them as they come.
Okay.
I got really lucky. I killed one of the butcher birds. The carrion crow dropped off of Stormbird and completely nuked his Uller because it had to die because it like turn one kills one of my rocks, and I was like, I know it's got 2 health and his artillery does 2 damage. I'm like, I know this is what you do. This is exactly what artillery does, but I'm like, I need you to stop, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, his Arctic Cheetah was tagging. That was the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
tag and Alpha
stop.
Strike. Yep. It's on or off. And the tagger just gets to shoot still.
Yeah.
It's brutal. I used it. It's brutal. Yeah.
I don't want to complain too much because we're only on game 1, but I'm constantly trying to be like, how do I make artillery fun and engaging without like completely just like, all right, everyone's taking skill 2 artillery with a tag, and it's like just 6 up. It takes 2 damage.
Yep.
I'm like you need much more line of sight blocking terrain, and like there's not a lot of that.
Yeah.
At least on these tournament tables. Like there's enough, but it's not like blocking a foot of line of sight kind of stuff.
Yeah. Don't bring things that can get blown up in one turn.
Exactly. Take 3 damage units, 3 health. But the game was good. I failed to score any melee hits, and that was a secondary, and I was really hoping I could get that.
Yeah.
By the end of it, I had like a rock jump and finish off an elemental on 1 health, and that scored me my cheapest unit kills the unit. And I was like, that 11-point Protomech just killed 20 points of battle armor. How you feeling now, son?
Nice.
But the only thing I had left was my Warcrow, on like, I want to say 2 or 3 health, and my White Raven on like full, and his Turkina was untouched, and a Butcher Bird. No. I had my VTOL, my White Raven, and my Warcrow, which was in structure. And he had his Turkina and a Butcher Bird left. So it was super close, and it really just came down to secondaries by the end of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is. The highlight for this game was turn 1, my Protomech that got artilleried jumps, and it gets a shot off on his Turkina from like 23 inches away. Gets a natural crit. I roll it. It's an engine hit.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Gotta love an engine hit.
Opening salvo. His Turkina, every time it shoots, now gets heat.
Yeah.
The problem is his Turkina is skill 2. And guess what?
It just shoot.
it just
shots.
shoots. Yeah, it still lands shots. So I was like, great.
Skill 2 Turkina. Wow.
It was pricey. What are we looking at? 80?
Probably.
No.
70?
It's 90.
Wow.
90
that is
points.
impressive.
Yeah. So that really helped because there were 2 turns where it didn't shoot, but I also like wasn't giving it good targets either. So by the end of the game, I have my VTOL left, my Warcrow and my White Raven in structure, and he has his Butcher Bird and his Turkina left. And by the way the points work, that's a tie, but I did eke out in secondary points. So I think that one was a 20-17.
Nice.
So a respectable.
Yeah.
We'll double check the score here. That was 19-17 against Anthony and the Jade Falcons, and that was respectable. And I will take those 2 points.
Yeah, there you go.
It's very hard to win the like just kill each other game.
Yeah, it's you grind each other down. It really is. And in this one, as you were saying, this one usually comes out in the wash, and you got to watch your secondaries.
Yeah.
Which I did.
Yeah. How was your game, Dustin?
It was good. It was excellent. I played Brian McGuire. He was an excellent chap. We had a great game, great vibes. We were both just like getting things going for the day, and had a really good game. So our table was a circle of buildings that were tall, line of sight. They were like 4x4 inch buildings, and it was like a circle of equals almost. There was like three smaller buildings in the center. Kind of a strange layout, but an interesting tactical, thought. Or, every game I look, what's my battle plan in general going to be, and you adjust it as you play. So my battle plan was to kind of send my vehicle lance up one flank, the flank that my opponent kind of deployed light on. So I deployed light, and I kind of I copied deployment. So I deployed strong on my left flank and light on my right flank. And he had, let's talk about his list real quick. He brought Fed Sons. He had a touch of melee units. I think there was like an Axeman and something else in there with melee. A little bit of stealth on his Cataphract, which was interesting. I think it might have even had jump strong or something, but it definitely had stealth and maybe not jump. That would be weird.
Yeah, it's that Liao variant.
It is.
It's pretty standard.
Yeah. And he brought 2 LRM carriers. So LRM carriers are parked in the back. He's spotting occasionally with different cheaper units. So I send my vehicle lance after his LRM carriers, my choppers as well. And the bulk of the fighting gets done on the other flank in the city. And there's people taking positions, mechs and units taking positions in the center of the field and jockeying for position. I think, we both ground each other down, and it came down to those secondaries, really. One of my choppers got vehicle crit or motive crit, didn't go down, just 50%. And I did get a chopper in to start doing damage to his LRM carriers. I might have even gotten my spider back there too, to start chipping away at those LRM carriers. And they did do some indirect damage. So I did have to take care of them. We both ended up killing more than half of the opponent's army. So we tied in victory points based on differential. And let's see. So then it came down to secondaries. My opponent got the successful melee attack, rear shot, and more than half the opponent's units. And I got smallest point unit destroyed a unit, which I worked really hard for, which was a mistake, and I'll talk about that in a second. Plus 1 point if I destroyed their highest point unit. I did get their highest point unit, and they did not get mine. Brian did not get my Vulture Mark 4D. I got a rear shot, and I got more than half the opponent's points. Now, the mistake here was my Vulture Mark D could have easily blown away its third kill for the game, and instead I went light, so my cheapest unit could get the kill instead. And that would have been a 2-point swing for me. So it's 3 points if your highest point unit kills 3 or more units. Like I said, the Vulture Mark IV had 9 dice on something with like 1 structure left, and I had saved it for my Vedette, which gets 1 point. So I could have scored if I was paying even more attention to the secondaries I was paying attention to. But we tied it up. I think we both scored 17 after secondaries on that one. So I opened the day with a tie in a very, very pleasant game. Thank you, Brian, for the game.
That's great.
Highlights and lowlights. I'm trying to think of a highlight. Nothing's really jumping out to me. Low light was definitely goofing on the secondaries for that game. So
it happens.
Yeah.
It's game one. Like everyone's getting their brain into like, all right, this is reading comprehension mode now.
Yep. Getting it in gear.
Yeah, I was definitely like, okay, I'm expecting to tie this game. What's the secondary that's really going to set me ahead?
Yeah.
And that was my White Raven is my most expensive. I was like, he was definitely gunning for it. And I was like, his Turkina is his most expensive. I was like, the Turkina can kill whatever it wants in a turn.
Yeah.
My White Raven has to spend the rest of the game like, okay, Elemental's got 4 health. Chuck it.
Mm-hmm.
just all sent, full sent.
Yeah.
So, but no, that's good.
Yep.
Like, all right. Yeah. Thoughts on the mission? It's kill each other.
Yeah. It's a good kill each other mission. My only thoughts, if I were to have a complaint or a critique, is like I think we say this every year. It's like, can we have this one on game 4, day 1, when our brains are cooked? I mean, would it be better to actually do that? I don't know, but maybe not, because you still do have to think with this one. You have to think about the secondaries because they're important.
This is the one you have to think the most abstractly about. It's like, how do I kill more without losing?
Open your Art of War book, on this one. Game 4 is going to be hard regardless. So it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Game 2.
So this is Take and Hold 3. Classic war gaming staple here.
My worst one.
Single model can contest a point, but it's the classic. You got 3 on the center. Get your dudes in there and hold them, and then you score your points off that.
Oh, this was my worst one last year, and I was like, okay, I just have to not commit to all 3, and I'll be fine.
Just don't commit to all 3.
But I played Keith, and I actually had played Keith before at Nova, which was like, it's always weird when like, hey, have I played you before? It's like, yeah,
we played a game.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, Keith actually just lives in like down the road from us, shockingly, and I keep telling him, I was like, hey, you got to come out and play us sometime. He's like, I know, I'll find time.
Nah.
Yeah. So Keith, if you're listening,
come on out.
It's been a year. You got to do it sometime. But Keith brought some Eridani Light Horse.
Nice.
And he brought a Skill 2 Chaparral Missile Artillery Tank, 2 Savannah Masters with the interdictors, but I don't have anything for ECM to jam.
Yep.
2 Balak Strike VTOLs.
Nice. Classic.
Yeah. 2 Marauder Battle Armors, Squad 4. It's the X-Mech one. Yeah.
This is a spicy list.
A Vulture Mark 4D at Skill 3.
Ooh, Skill 3 Mark D.
Skill 3. A Komodo 2 at Skill 3. A Mad Cat Mark 4B, the Savage Wolf at Skill 3. A Locust 5W2, that's the tag one.
Okay.
For at Skill 7.
2 tags.
And
because you 2 artillery?
Nope, he just has 1 artillery.
Backup tag.
Backup tag. And he's got a Marauder 5M at Skill 3.
Nice.
So his mechs are low skill and his other stuff is regular or worse skill. I think total he has 5 tags because the Marauders have light tags technically.
Oh, short range. That's tough to use.
Yeah, it's 6. You want to call in 6-inch artillery? Go right ahead.
Danger close.
Danger close. But yeah, so on this one you have to. It's really whoever has more objectives per turn gets more points. And it's like, okay, well, I went in and I was like, okay, as long as I don't go for all 3, I'm fine. My brain says I'll go all to the left one.
Okay.
But then I see he only sends his Marauder to the right side. I was like, it's really easy to push a Marauder. Like, I can do this. I can do this, Josh.
Here I go. Oh, man.
So I send, what is it? The War Crow, a Carrion Crow, and a Stormbird Battle Arm, and the VTOL to the right, which was not my original plan. And everything else is going left. Turn 1, I'm able to essentially measure that one of the proto-mechs gets onto one objective, and the other one's just kind of creeping in more of the middle, just in case it can go to either one if it's in the middle. I was like, okay. Your team M5. I'm pretty sure I got a lot of faith that you don't die T1. Of course, he misses his artillery. Or no. So instead of putting his artillery on the proto-mechs, turn 1 he puts it on the Carrion Crow, which had jumped on the right side of the table, and he takes 2 damage to that, 2 damage to the Stormbirds. I'm like, that's fine. I would rather you throw it on that than the proto-mech at this point.
Because they were loaded up, he doubled up on the damage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a wrong call if you're trying to get your money's worth.
Yeah.
But he's got his 2 Savannah Masters with the Marauders. They drop off, and I'm like, cool. I can kill some TMM0 battle armor and some TMM4 Savannah Master. I luck out. I do kill the Savannah Master.
Oh, wow.
And the Marauder battle armor is easy. So the right side is technically uncontested, and the left side, I have stuff on the objective and he does not. So I think, turn 1, I get my 1 point to his 0. And I'm like, okay, we just got to keep doing this. This is going good.
Mm-hmm.
That essentially is what happened the next turn as well. Like he wasn't able to get onto the middle objective, and the left objective, when he put something on and I killed it, and the right objective, he's just moving the Marauder up to counter my War Crow and Carrying Crow now. I think that time he had killed something with the artillery. That's fine. Turn 3 is when it starts getting a little bad.
Yeah.
I score my 1, the left field, the left side of the table, which I committed like 80% of my forces to, and he's killed the Carrying Crow, and I by then moved the War Crow to help like push the middle, put some pressure on his Vulture and Mad Cat.
Yeah,
that didn't work.
Ooh.
You don't push a Savage Wolf and a Vulture Mark 4D.
They push you.
They push you, sir.
That's right.
Yeah, so I get 1 point to his 2, and at that point I'm in like freak out mode because we've only gotten 3 turns in. And it's already like time is starting to wrap up.
Yeah.
And I started to get a little heated, and I'm going to apologize to Keith on air. I got a little heated because I get really stressed when I'm like getting done with a turn. And it's like, and somebody's like, all right, you got like 20 minutes, start wrapping it up. And it's like, we only got like 1, 2, 3 turns in, sir.
We need another turn.
I need another turn. Like I was like, at this point, I can still do this, but I'd have to like really kite the Vulture and the Mad Cat and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can do this, but I can't do it in 1 turn.
Mm-hmm.
So we get 1 more turn in, and I just leave the Protomech on my left objective, the Stormcrow there, and I try to throw all the dice onto his far right objective, which he's got like that second Savannah Master that had dropped off battle armor, zipped it to that objective. I was like, oh god, TMM4 at medium range. Like even my skill 3 is going to struggle at that.
Mm-hmm.
I put a bunch of dice to try to get him to only score 1 point. It doesn't work. So he wins that one with 4 objectives to my 3. Yeah. If I had something faster like that, like I could have landed the VTOL or something.
Yeah.
But it didn't really work out. So like I said, I apologize, Keith, for me getting a little heated, but it was still a great game. I lost that one 17-20.
So it came out in secondaries because 0-1 margin is 12-12.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was still a tie, and I was like,
on primary objective
up.
points.
Yeah. On primary and I did not put my White Raven my highest point because if I don't hold a strategic, I got 2, but what's the word? But he did. He just threw it, but he got all the other secondaries. So it was kind of like that. What's worth more, me putting my tankiest, most expensive unit on an objective and getting a point, or getting 2 points at the end? And I decided the 2 points at the end. And I'd say 17-20 isn't the worst. But it was still a good game. What's the word? Fighting X-Mech battle armor, it's just... It's really to throw them on Savannah Masters.
All right. So for game 2, I played William Mandak. Game 2 is the classic war game staple, take 3 in the center. And the objectives can be contested with just a single unit. Let's see. William brought... I don't remember the faction, but it was definitely mixed tech. So he brought some clan heavy hitters. Like he also brought a Vulture Mark 4D, just a Mad Cat W. So 770, quite the bruiser, and a Stormcrow Prime. So 552. The rest of the list was Inner Sphere support stuff, kind of. Like a lot of 220 or 211. A commando, a rifleman C. There's a locust for running around and contesting objectives. Wolverine, that was 221. A couple of those mechs had, some neat tricks. Let's see, a Thunderbolt C. So that was a 443. Nothing to sneeze at. But yeah, so I kind of tried to deploy hard on the center objective and my right side and kind of offer just a very token force on my right side. So I deployed hard on the left objective and the center objective and deployed light on the right objective. I think I just sent my choppers out. I like to keep them in reserve for later in the game anyways. So I just kind of sent my choppers to the rightmost objective. I don't remember anything spectacular about this game outside of just being slowly finessed the whole entire time. I just got outplayed on all the objectives. I can look at my score sheet from this game because I wrote it down. Will scored, he scored that rightmost objective on the first turn. He scored 2 objectives on the second turn, 1 objective on the third turn to my 2 objectives on the third turn. And then I scored 0 in the fourth turn, and he scored 2 on the fourth turn. So I also seem to have only gotten 4 turns in for this game. But yeah, I scored 2 points to Will's 6. So that put our differential at, 9 victory points to 16, I think. Yes, something like that. I didn't do great in secondaries either. I just got the Sun Tzu thing, and I did hold 2 strategic points, but my opponent did that as well. He also did not use his highest point unit to hold a strategic point. And he got the +3 for having me, his opponent, score less than 4 strategic points overall. So I think at the end of this one, Will earned 24 and I earned 12. So he doubled my points. I got beat pretty soundly. This is game 2, and I've got 17 points and 12 points. So this is, at this point in the day, I'm 1 tie and 1 loss going into game 3.
So after game 2, we break for lunch. Me and the Motor City Mechwarriors, we decide to drive on over to Wendy's, and that was a whole thing. Like, I've never watched a restaurant be taking orders for food while they are jacking their in-use fryer up off the ground to take a saw to the wheels of it. And all I can say is every time I try to go for lunch at Southern Assault, it goes terribly. Like, something is happening. So yeah, I'm just, next year I'm going to pack my own lunch. That's all I can say. But anyways, we get back. I'm scarfing down chicken nuggets. I'm waiting for the new list of games. And once they are posted, I don't want to say shocked, but I was, I'll say shocked. I was shocked that the table I'm put on is the exact same terrain that I practiced with you, Dustin, on. And I was like, wait, why is this painted the exact same way? And it's because Dustin brought his terrain for this tournament because, trying to be helpful, and I'm on the terrain for it. So I had already fought on this, and let's do it again. So we're playing Hold the Line, which is essentially the classic get all your forces across the half of the table, and you want to stop your opponent from getting their forces to your half of the table. But I am fighting Adam Lane and his pretty much all skill 3 clan force. He's got a Black Hawk, a Warhammer 2C, a Puma, a Marauder 2C, a Mad Cat, a Hunchback 2C, and then he's got 2 Micro Pulse Laser battle armors at skill 4. So pretty gnarly force. And I was like, okay, well, I've got more things I can get across the table better than him. So first turn, I deploy, and I've got all my forces laid out. I send a protomech pretty much on down the middle and one on the far right, and he's deployed his stuff to pretty much just run up the gambit. The problem is with this table is almost the whole centerpiece, like a foot diameter in the middle, is just line of sight blocking terrain. Like, there is just no line of sight from sitting still. So I'm like, okay, I either have to get up high and on top of that terrain, or I have to wait for like turn 2, maybe turn 3, and then start shooting. And I was like, that's not going to work because he's got more skill 3 than me. I just have more units. So turn 1, he sends his Mad Cat and his Puma, and I want to say his Nova, kind of like to one side, and the rest of his big chunky boys to the left. And I'm like, okay, well, he's split forces. Maybe I can do this. So negotiating all the line of sight blocking terrain, I jump my one Warcrow up onto like the big terrain in the middle, thinking, oh, that's fine. He can't hit it that hard. He hits it pretty hard. I've taken more armor damage than I thought, and I haven't really done anything to him. So I'm like, ooh, let's play this a little differently now. All of his units are essentially behind that line of sight blocking terrain, and I'm advancing toward them, taking the same advantage of the terrain. Next turn, I put my White Raven and my Warcrow back there, but they're now behind like a pillar, so they've got line of sight against the Mad Cat and the Marauder 2C, which is critical because those do a lot of damage. I essentially get all back shots by lining it up onto his Warhammer 2C because I really don't want to fight with that. So I'm essentially like risking most of my force to take that out pretty early. Unsurprisingly, it takes more shots than I wanted to even with putting shots into the back, it still took the majority of my force to do it. And I had deployed like one of my Stormbirds to do it and another Stormbird to kill his Hunchback 2C, which was trying to get rear shots on my White Raven now, because one of the secondaries was kill the highest point unit, and that was mine. His was his Timberwolf. The Warhammer 2C dies. I leave his Hunchback 2C on 1 health, and I am so mad. I think at the end of that turn, my White Raven is in structure, my Warcrow's not looking great, and his Warhammer 2C is down, but nothing else besides like his Warhammer 2C and the Hunchback 2C. So turn 3, my plan is just like jump into his full deployment zone, like just get guys like deeper across that line. So he has to start deciding if he wants to come back and attack me or if he wants to press forward and get more guys on the edge of my side. What ends up happening though is all of his skill 3 guys just like hold steady and just blast my units as they're jumping along, moving. Like I don't have super high TMMs, so his skill 3 was definitely like hurting that. At this point in the game, it's pretty much all downhill for me. He's deployed battle armor to kill my protomechs. He's nuked the other one, essentially. I have my Stormcrow dead, my jumping Warcrow also pretty much dead. And what's doing the majority of the damage right now is his Marauder 2C. So I'm like, okay, I can kill this and maybe aim for a tie. We spend the whole turn like doing the shenanigans of like, all right, my back's to this rock, and he's like moving as minimum as possible, but to stay in range. Those last 2 turns, my Carrion Crow dies. My other Warcrow is essentially the last thing on the table at the end. He shoots at my VTOL, immobilizes it, it crashes, still alive, but he doesn't have any more shots to kill it. Next turn, wipes it. But I have at least killed his Timberwolf, and I think he has a few things left. Now, we call the game, and what happens is he has less than 50 points across the edge. Like, he spent more time fighting me in his deployment zone, so he never got more guys across. Thankfully, though, I had 1 secondary against him, so I win this one just because I was able to get all of my units across the center line, and he was not able to get all of his units across the center line. So it gave me that advantage up. Final score is 18-17. And Adam, that was an amazing game, and I never want to play it again.
Okay, Mission 3. Mission 3 is always... not always. Mission 3 was the mission where you kind of score points for getting on the other side of the table. And I feel like usually this is... switch table sides with your opponent game is the title of the game. That didn't really happen this year. It definitely happened in Southern Assault 1 and Southern Assault 2, but not so much this year. Let me talk about my opponent and their list. So I played Game 3 Eugene Gonzalez, and he had an excellent, like, old school Mechwarrior 3D printed helmet. So there are probably pictures of that floating around. Eugene brought kind of a lot of indirect fire and artillery. So like 2 LRM carriers and 2 artillery pieces, sprint, like spotter choppers to support that. And then like Godzilla, so an Annihilator and an Atlas and maybe 1 or 2 other thick mechs and 1 or 2 more maneuverable smaller mechs. I think, no, 2. Yeah, he had a pair of Phoenix Hawks. So right out the gate, we start playing and I make a huge mistake. Turn 1. I put my spider on top of something else. I brought artillery and I know better than to do this, especially when I'm staring down, 2 artillery tubes. But yeah, I put my fastest moving unit, my spider, on top of something else and I get it deleted turn 1. So I kind of asked for that, goofed there, but slowly I kind of spread my forces out. Eugene had put all of his indirect fire behind a building because this was kind of a shooting gallery kind of map. And I sent, some lighter elements up the flank to go after the indirect stuff. And I think he deployed his heavier stuff kind of to the right and the left, and the center of the field was a little open. So at this point, I don't remember too many details about the game. I just remember that I played kind of, not really cagey, but just a slow conservative march towards the center of the table and then jumping over the center of the table. I think one of the advantages that I had going into this is that I had played this mission several times, and this is one of the more confusing missions when it comes to scoring, when it happens, and how it's scored. So I kind of knew to hold and then jump the line, so to speak. And as far as scoring goes, we did get into a differential bracket, so it looks like I scored 14 points and Eugene scored 10 points. And I didn't get too many secondaries, just 2 rear shots, because I did get my choppers in and started getting rear shots on his artillery pieces. So that got me that secondary. Didn't get all the units crossing the center line. That one's kind of bonkers. Or plus 2 points if you held your opponent to less than half of their units crossing the center line. My Vulture Mark IV went down, so I didn't score those points for getting the highest points across the line. And my Vedette didn't destroy anything. So yeah, just 1 secondary. That put me up to 16. Eugene didn't score any secondaries by the looks of things. So that put us at 16-10. That's game 3. So I'm 1 tie, 1 loss, and 1 win coming into game 4, which is the toughest game of Southern Assault, regardless of what mission you get for game 4, in my opinion.
Shockingly, that game ends, and what do I do for the next several minutes? I eat the rest of my Wendy's chicken nuggets, because I waited 50 minutes in the store for them to saw the legs off of this fryer out, drop it again, and then put stuff back in it, which is, like I said, insane. I can't get over that. But then we get table pairings for game 4, and game 4 is, did I hear you say supplies? And this is 5 objectives, really, 1 in the middle and 2 in each of your deployment zones. And it's cumulative, so whoever is on 3 gets 3 points, and whoever's on 2 gets 2 points, and it's just like that. And the secondaries are pretty standard for, hold more than 4 and, kill all your enemy stuff like that. But I am paired up against Dan Doherty, and he is taking his clan Goliath Scorpions, and he has a Turkina D. That's right, the Turkina that does all the damage. This is my second Turkina of the day. Yeah. He has a Von Luckner heavy tank, a Uller H, a Puma E, a Loki E, a Locust 2C, a Phantom C, a Piranha 3, and an Epona Pursuit Tank B. And these are all skill 4. So we are playing like on the airfield base map, I guess. Like, it's got a bunch of like quan sets and like an air traffic controller, and it's got a drop ship. It's on a beautifully like, you know, pre-printed mat. So it looks great and I love it. And we sit down, we start deploying, and I get a little conservative because that last game wasn't as great as I wanted it to be, and I put almost all my forces between the middle and the right side. And then I put my work row, my jumping work row, and my on the far left, because all it's really got to do is sit on that one objective and not die. And I think it's pretty good at that with TMM3 and 4 pips of, you know, body armor, battle armor. We get going. The first turn is pretty much a mad dash for the middle objective. I think the carrying crow was just barely able to get to it, and I do not deploy the battle armor, and he puts his Epona on that objective, like with an air traffic control tower, like is the only line of sight. We've both got partially against each other, and I essentially unload my entire force into this Epona trying to kill it. I don't, which is the funny thing. I also remember my Stormcrow and his Von Luckner tank like exchanging shots, and both of us like whiffing horribly. Like it was actually pretty dumb. Next turn, though, is when things start to get heated. He throws the Piranha like into the same spot the Epona was, and the Epona starts to go behind some buildings on the left side. So like my side I didn't deploy on. I'm like, okay, he's starting to realize there's a really weak side here. So, oh man, I've got my rocks, my Protomechs. They are just essentially jumping roughly in place to get their high TMMs. And what I'm really worried about isn't the Turkina, it's the Pouncer, because the Pouncer does 6 damage short and medium, and it can run like, I don't know, 18. He ended up getting aggressive with it, but not like point blank aggressive, so I wasn't able to like really punish him, which is, you know, good. But I do end up killing the Piranhas that he put on the center objective, so I win that one at the price of a Stormbird battle armor and a lot of my Carrion Crow's armor. The good part about me deploying on that full right side, though, is his Turkina was placed where it couldn't get line of sight of that middle objective, and I think that was really key in me not dying as much as I did. Next turn, he tries doing some flanking. He's got his Locust 2C running up that right flank, and his Phantom kind of like holding the middle. Like, essentially, if I overcommit, I'm punished by the Phantom. If he is a little too conservative, I'll just rush him. And that Locust 2C is nasty. We'll say I did get lucky, and I want to say he shot at the Protomech, which was the harder thing to hit at Team M5, and I just put my White Raven there to like, okay, you can, if you kill the Protomech, that's fine, but I'm not going to let you get this objective. And thankfully, I'd rolled really well and killed that Locust 2C. By this point, he's also kind of figured out his Turkina isn't paying for itself by not shooting, because I'm outside of medium range or for everything, or I'm in line of sight blocking. So next turn, he moves the Turkina up. I sit still with that Warcrow that's on that far objective, and I essentially commit all my forces onto the right now. I'm just like, hey, Warcrow, just tank. That's all you have to do. My White Raven against his Von Luckner and his Phantom, and essentially any other units I could spare with my tanky Warcrow on the center objective. I'm like, just hold that. That's all you got to do. That turn, I'm able to kill his Von Luckner, and his Turkina overheats to attack my Warcrow, and it does the perfect stripping of armor. It does not do a single internal, but it strips all the armor points. And I'm like, cool, that's my one time I get to play that card. The next turn, it's almost the exact same thing, except now his Turkina's too overheated. I jump the Warcrow again, and my White Raven and Phantom start dueling. Thankfully, I win that duel and just completely kill his Phantom. And at the end of that, all that's left is the Turkina. I still haven't technically gotten all like 4 objectives. I've just been like scoring my 2 in the middle. And so that last turn, I put a unit on each of his objectives, and because I'm in such of the rear arc of his Turkina, I'm able to kill that for the last turn. So I ended up tabling Dan and winning this one 31-3.
All right, here we go. Game 4. You got no gas left in the tank for game 4, so this one's always tough. Game 4, I played Chuck Stocky. And what did Chuck bring? If I look here, I took a little photo. Chuck brought kind of 2 lances and 2 extra units. So what is that? Math is 10 units. Let's talk about a vehicle lance. There's 2 alicorns, the Mark 6, so 4.55 with turret. 2 of those alicorns, a demolisher, and some sort of a hover thing. Minion advanced tactical vehicle, 220 with 18-inch hover movement, so TMM3. He had a pretty heavy mech lance, Warhammer C2, so 663, Grasshopper 5N, 341, Stalker 7D, 553 with 2 overheat, and a Nightstar 550. And let's see, the 2 extra auxiliary units were like a dart and a cicada. So we deploy on this map, this game 4, and I'm sweating this one because the map is just a shooting gallery. This is the mission where it's take 5, basically. So you have 2 in your deployment zone, left and right. Your opponent has 2 in their deployment zone, left and right, and there's 1 in the center. The center is just, I'm not going to be able to hold the center objective because Chuck has way more medium and long range firepower than I do. So looking at the map, I kind of figure I'll send my choppers to hold my home objectives. They have a high TMM and they're going to be in medium range, at least medium range for most of the match. So I think they can kind of hold those 2 down. There's a little more cover on my left flank. So I deploy hard on the left flank and I literally sprint most of my units across the dead zone in the middle. And I think he focused a lot of fire into the Cyclops, my Cyclops. If memory serves, it didn't go down. Chuck puts his tanks kind of in the open and they start trying to find a hold down position. Chuck's rolls, I think you spend 4 inches and you roll looking for a 7-up, and Chuck had a hard time making that 7-up roll for those tanks to get hull down. So he wasn't able to get that -1 for his shots as many turns as you would have thought his tanks would have gotten because they just had the trouble finding the cover. So, but my choppers end up staying alive. They hold my objectives, my side of the table. Chucky does contest. I keep on calling him Chucky. I'm sorry, Chuck. Chuck does contest my objectives on my side once or twice with the dart or the hovercraft. But my big push on the left ends up working out. I end up winning the battle of attrition. Towards the end of the game, I'm able to hold a point on his side of the table. So let's see here. As far as scoring and the turns go, I have my scores here. Chuck had 3 in the first turn. I had 2, so he held that center objective. I think he put one of his fast units on it, and I couldn't even begin to contest that. We go to 2 and 1, me having 1 objective on the second turn, and then we kind of switch here. It goes 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 again. So if I mathed correctly, I scored 7 and Chuck also scored 7 points. And let me take a look at our score sheet. I did control a supply point on the opposite side of the board, and I don't believe Chuck, I didn't take a picture of his score sheet. So I think, because we were 12 and 12, even on the differential, and I don't think he scored any secondaries. So I think I pull out a narrow victory. Game 4, day 1. That's it. So I'm 2 wins, a tie, and a loss on day 1. And then we kind of wrap up, head out to dinner. I had a great time at dinner, talked with some excellent chaps as always. You're in pleasant company at the Southern Assault. I had a great dinner at the Mexican restaurant. And then, as is tradition, took off to Fortress Miniatures and Games store proper. And I think I bought, I know I had my eyes on an Ares for many years, and I finally picked one up. I'll assemble it and paint it soon, trademark on that soon. So that's it. Day 1 is a wrap. I go back to the hotel and get some sleep. My roommate did not get much sleep that night, but he claims that it is not my fault. So, okay, we've made it to day 2. So after a lovely continental breakfast, I roll into Southern Assault with plenty of time to spare. Do not grab a donut, and by the time I'm done with game 5, there are no more donuts anymore. The usual way day 2 works at Southern Assault is that everybody votes to start quote-unquote early because it's daylight savings time. So instead of starting at 9, we start at 8, even though it feels like 9. Everybody always decides to stay instead of going for lunch and coming back. So I'm always extra hungry after everything's wrapped up. So I miss that donut. Let's talk real quick about rankings at the opening of day 2. So 4 games in, our victory points, just our tactical victory points are posted, and we're all kind of able to look and see how we're doing. So this year, I am coming into day 2 kind of at the bottom of the pack. I am like probably in 70th place out of 82 people, which was a little surprising to me because I think I had 2 wins, a tie, and a loss from day 1, but they were all just, kind of low-scoring games. So I ended up, I guess, slowly working my way to the bottom of the pack. Southern Assault 2, I come into day 2 in like the top 5 or 4 or something like that. And Southern Assault 3, I come into day 2 at the back of the pack.
So, hey, not a terrible way to end day 1. I've got 3 wins, and one of those is a big blowout, which is kind of what you want to see. The one lost is really tight, so I'm accepting that. But hey, then we start planning dinner, and we go to Mi Pueblo, our favorite post-game dinner reservation, essentially. I have to hand it to Denham for this, because during game 3, I have texted him like, hey, these people haven't responded to my emails for dinner reservations. Can you call them? And I was like, I don't know how many people are going to be there, but I know it will be a lot. So Denham calls and he says, I have a reservation for like 30 plus people for Mi Pueblo. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's too many. But we end up going there. And we ended up with, I think, 39 people out of this like 80-person BattleTech event. Just under half of them came to dinner with us, and that was amazing. I do my little toast, my little thanks for being there, thanks for playing, thanks for making this the greatest BattleTech event, in North Carolina. And yeah, we enjoy our dinner after. This always happens. The drinks orders, they take forever. Like, it's just how it is there. And then 10 minutes after your drink order, you get your food. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. And I'm guessing like, whoever is in charge of bringing drinks, like sodas or waters, or whatever, not the same person cooking food. So that's okay. I am happy with that. But then we essentially roll on out to Fortress Miniatures and Games, like the store, it's not a brick and mortar store. It's an online store. So Rob just opens up his house and we get to hang out in his garage and buy stuff there. And I buy just an Orion and 4 more Protomechs. Because I went there specifically for the snake ones, the Cesarops and the Satyr, and I needed an Orion, like just in general. I tried not to stay there too long that time because I knew time changes coming and I still would like a good night's of sleep. So we head back, we crash, and we wake up and do it all again. So we get there and we get set up. And I am playing against Charles Abbott, and he's playing his Word of Blake. And I had already talked and met with Charles, like, Friday night, when I got there, and I was explaining to him how Memetic / Mass works in Alpha Strike, and how Stealth and ECM interact. So I was like, oh, hey, we get to play. And Charles brought an Archangel Invictus at skill 6, a Preda Dominus at skill 5, a Legacy 01 at skill 5, a Malik at skill 5, Infernus, a Diva Commonus at skill 5, a Manticore heavy PPC at skill 4, a Preda at skill 5, Commonus, and a Manticore heavy tank at skill 4. He's got 2 units of Purifier adaptive battle armor, laser at skill 3, 2 heavy hover APCs at skill 7. He's got 2 Scorpion light tanks at skill 4 and 5, and then a motorized field artillery at skill 5. So I'm like, oh boy, that's a lot of units. That's, doing the finger math on my hands, 15 units on which map, or not which map, which game mode. Bob has written it down as Tactical Chaos. No, it's King of the Hill, but this time the hill is in between force fields, and you can't score until turn 3, so your speed doesn't matter, and technically your line of sight, like good long-range shooting, doesn't matter either. This is brawl or kill them before turn 3, and I was like, ugh. I should also point out that me and Charles are both tied for 3rd place in battle points going into day 2, which I was like, I don't want to be that high up at the start, to be honest. I just woke up. I kind of need like warm-up time. But no, Charles was great. So the first 2 turns, he took a bunch of shots at my VTOL because it was the only thing he could see. And I, on turn 2, got shots off on his heavy hover APC. And I both got lucky and unlucky in the fact of it has 3 health. It had purifiers inside of it and behind a rock at like 23 inches away. I was like, I can do this. I shoot. I land 2 out of my 3 shots. So it doesn't die. I roll motive. It does not motive either. And I'm like, if I had 1 more damage, I could have killed 2 units for the price of 1. And that would have been so choice. I had also made another tactical blunder is for those first 2 turns, neither of us were really like maneuvering. We were all kind of just waiting for the force fields to go down on like the 4 up or 3 down, whichever way. And yeah, it went by fast. Like, I'm not going to say it wasn't fine, but if I had been more aggressive going around him, like, yes, he had see-through eye, but his skills were still like 5 and 6. Like, I could have weathered that with my superior armor and skill and TMMs. The problem is we had lined up essentially on opposite sides of the King of the Hill, and none of the force fields to allow any of our shots had gone off. So it's like, first 2 turns might as well have not happened. Turn 3, the first turn that we can start scoring, happens, and we dogpile that objective. I think I had every single of my units in, and he had all but like his little skill 5 artillery infantry there, and that's it. Like, there wasn't much else. The first turn, I whiff a bunch of my shots, and the only thing I'm able to kill is the heavy hover APCs and his manticores. So all of his infantry are still there on like low health, and I've just killed like the trash vehicles. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. He kills my Stormcrow, which it's technically out there to be killed first. It's got, only TMM 2. It's not doing anything fancy. And of course, things go from bad to worse when he lands his like 10 up to hit with artillery. His skill 5 infantry artillery hits 2 damage to my battle armor, kills a proto mech, and does 2 more to a Warcrow. And I'm like, that is 6 damage from a 16-point unit. Like, he even said, he's like, if it hits once, it pays for itself. And I was like, that has paid for itself like almost 4 times over in that point. He never hits with it the rest of the game, but that one time that it hit, it happened. I should also say, this game, Charles was more than amicable to my needs. He had used like the Jeff's printed BattleTech list to like give all of his units cool names and stuff, and I was like, hey, I'm calling Scorpions Vedettes or whatever, like whatever that he had named them, I was incorrectly, because that puts it at the top. And I was like, do you have any the regular sheets? And he was like, oh yeah, that's fine. And he's like, do you mind if I use the Death Dice box? And I was like, hey, actually I've got PTSD from one of those from my last tournament. Do you mind if we don't use it? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. So first off, Charles is beating me on sportsmanship for this game too. And now he's beating me on actual dice rolls and playing. The next 2 turns are me just trying to generate my high TMMs against his bucket of dice shots. And he is stomping me. My crit resistance saves me like 2 or 3 times, but we're just really dogpiled on the objective. There's no room for like extreme maneuvers or hard angles or getting any line of sight blocking terrain. Every single unit that is firing within the force fields. We don't even roll anymore to see if force fields go up or down. It's just, we're all in. The problem is he almost has double the units than me, even with me killing. Like, he'll kill one of mine and I'll kill one of his, and there will still be a 2-to-1 difference in numbers. So I think it's turn 4 that I do the mental math where if he gets an extra turn, he just completely dumpsters me. So I just stand still, let him kill me so the game is over faster. Which, I mean, it still hurt, but then it's only a 22-3 split rather than a 25-0. So the final score for this mission is 9-28 with me losing. And that was an intense game. Like, swarms are good and swarms are best on like a King of the Hill match where it's like, hey, you just score for whatever you have in the middle. Like, if you have more than me, I have to kill more than you per turn. And there was just no way with this list, the terrain, and especially the force fields that come up randomly, that I was ever going to do that. Charles was an amazing and excellent opponent. After the game, we talked like the Ghost of Obita, like new release. He hadn't heard about it, so it was cool talking Word of Blake lore with a Word of Blake player. And he gave me his like, have you heard the word, like laminated fun sheet, which I thought was really cool and appreciative. So great job, Charles. You dumpstered me. Or no, we didn't say dumpster. We said recycled, because if you score like 9, you did good. Like I said, I think I could have done better by being extremely more aggressive those first 2 turns, like just running at the enemy and trying to kill as much as I could before we actually could start scoring. Like, that was the only way, but that was kind of I don't know how aggressive my opponent is going to be. He's very bunched up. If I had artillery, that could have helped me a lot. My VTOL was good, but against his high TMM stuff and his C3I, it's like I was very worried about putting my like one unit that can always get into the rear of something, like just out there to be shot at, because I think that's what happened turn 1. Like, I literally sat for like 5 minutes and watched every single one of his units. Like, just, it was the only thing he could see. And he was like, well, if I get a 12, I hit it. And I was like, okay. And he rolled and he got like very close. He got a couple of 11s. But still, overall, great game. 10 of 10 would do again.
Okay, game 5 is the Thunderdome. So this year, Thunderdome was slightly different than last year. You weren't supposed to score on the first 3 turns. Myself and my opponent missed that in the rule packet, so we started guns a-blazing. But let me talk about my opponent and his list. So I played Les Boyd. Les Boyd brought a lot of units. So he brought a King Crab 5, a Crockett, a Guillotine, a Griffin, a Crab, a Mercury, and a bunch of battle armor and battle taxis. So 2 heavy hover APCs, 2 Blizzard hovered transports, and those are transporting Shadows and Seirums. One of these does a little damage in medium range, but I think both sets of these infantry do 5 damage in short range. Initially, I was excited for this mission because I have artillery, and it's the Thunderdome, and looking forward to dropping some danger close. We get rolling, we get deployed. I think I take a cheeky point on turn 1. Pretty sure I jump my spider in there. Yeah, just do some general maneuvering. Les is also maneuvering. I think he has some C3 as well in this list. Yeah, actually some C3I. So yeah, there's an infantry bomb in this list and some C3I. This is pretty rough. We get going on Thunderdome. I'm playing a little cagey in the opening turns. Les does get some stuff in the center. I do get some artillery inside the Thunderdome with the Urban Mech, but this year with the errata, because battle armor can move a little bit, he's kind of able to just, drop off his armor and then have them move away from the battle taxi. So I can't catch the hover APCs and the infantry in the template as often as I want. In fact, I think I only do it once, As far as scoring goes, I score 2 points on the first 2 rounds. Les scores 2 points in the second round as well. Remember, this mission, there's no contesting. You just get points for having units in. Round 3, Les scores 1 point. Round 4, I score 1 point and Les scores 5 points. Round 5 is I score 3, he scores 6, and then I score 0 and he scores 4. He was really able to drop his infantry off in some really choice places, cleaned up my Komodo pretty early, then popped the urban mech and just really got my stuff out of position, buried in battle armor, and I just got my butt kicked. I got straight up dumpstered at Game 5. Let me take a look at the scorecard. It is pretty rough. Our differential is 3-22, I think. I do score some secondaries, but my opponent Les scores just about all the secondaries. He scores 2 points for highest unit point gaining a tactical point, lowest point unit gaining a tactical point, destroyed an undamaged unit holding, the Thunderdome in 1 turn. Also a Sun Tzu quote in there for 1 point. And then he gets plus 2 points for earning 4 tactical points in a single turn. So yeah, after all of his secondaries, he scores 29 points to my 5. Yeah, so just straight into the trash can.
So then we get to Game 6. We had done the morning vote where we all kind of skip lunch so we can get done with the day earlier, which is, it's what you want. You don't want to be there forever. So postings get, posted, and I go to my table and I'm playing Tim Pinion. And Tim has some sweet mercenaries. He's got a C3 Sprint Scout helicopter at skill 7. He's got an Annihilator C at skill 4, 2 Jess-2 strategic missile carriers at skill 4, a Crossbow B, a Cougar C, a Cyclops 11C2, the double C3 master one, a Balak Strike VTOL, a SRM Carrier 3054 upgrade at skill 3, and then an Urbamech Arrow 4 at skill 4. And we are playing Extraction. Essentially, this one is 2 crashed VTOLs and essentially 2 groups of infantry next to it, and you can pick up the infantry, run them off the board, or hold them, but you just have to control them. In the VTOLs, the crashed sites, you need 2 units within 2 inches to grab those and hold those objectives. They don't move. You can move the infantry objectives, but not the VTOL. So what's cool about his list is the Cyclops has a tag because it has a C3 master, and it's connected to the 2 Jess-2s, the Sprint, and that's it. So really, the Jess-2s have perfect line of sight shooting to anything for at least 1 or 2 turns while the Sprint is alive. The Cyclops, you can't really kill the master that fast. It's a good tanky master. So turn 1, we set up, we deploy, and we start rolling. And once we're done moving, the only things I can really say is I had spread out my forces because I was scared of artillery, hardcore PTSD style now. And also I didn't want, because I knew, and he did, of course, win initiative turn 1, his Sprint moves, and it is as close as it can to my War Crow, my Carrion Crow, my fast, jumpy TMM boys. And I'm I know what's coming. Jess-2s are coming. And he completely cripples my low skill War Crow with the flak turn 1. It's not dead, but it's movement crit because he had rolled a 9, but still crit resistance turns that down to a 7. So it then movement points me. I'm ugh, thanks, crit resistance. You helped more than you hurt, but it still hurts when you hurt. For that, I do at least kill his SRM carrier, because I don't want that shooting really at all. On the right side, my Protomech runs towards that far VTOL, and on the left side, my Protomech jumps toward that one. Unfortunately, he gets lucky on, even with his skill 4 artillery, he still hits the Protomech and still wipes it out. So I'm okay. Thankfully, more mechs were on that side, so it wasn't that critical. But I felt like I definitely lost the trade war for turn 1, with me losing essentially my Warcrow's effectiveness and for an SRM carrier. I know one of those is a dead unit and the other one is not, but it still felt bad. Turn 2 rolls around, and I have put my Far Protomech on the objective, and the Stormcrow is backing that guy up solo. So it's just the duo of Stormcrow that takes the hits and the Protomech that doesn't do much either, but just stays jumpy. And on the other objective, it's pretty much all of my forces with the White Raven like in the middle. Like there's a little bit of a hill, and the White Raven is taking it just so it can go wherever it needs to go. My Wounded Warcrow, I forgot, had also been weapon hit and motive hit. So it essentially stays still with its back towards the edge of the map. So when, even with me not winning initiative, his sprint helicopter will get somewhere and he will have, skill 2 shots onto it with some flak. I did technically get that wrong, where if you are weapon hit, all of your specials that are like flak 222, they go down as well. So like it didn't matter, because by the end of it, I just rolled a 9 up on my regular shot. Like I didn't need the 7 with flak to kill the sprint helicopter. Like it doesn't have that much health. So I did technically get that wrong in intention, but didn't matter in the gameplay. My Carrion Crow has jumped towards the farthest infantry, shockingly. Like it got aggressive, and I dropped my Stormbird battle armor, and they moved to secure the VTOL. Like it felt weird. I'm putting the battle armor to secure the VTOL, but the mechs to secure the infantry. But it's also because one of those has a much higher team MM. I think this turn I'm able to kill one of the Jest2s, which I needed. Like they put out significant damage with or without the C3. And on the right side, I just have my Protomech and Stormcrow tanking shots. The Stormcrow tanked it, but it didn't do anything in return. And it's fighting the Annihilator, the Cougar, and the Balak. So it wasn't really a fair fight, but I wasn't dying from it. The Protomech lives, which is great. Which means because it doesn't shoot, the next turn it can jump and just move those infantry back to its home edge. So next turn, I have not technically secured either of the infantry on the left, because I have to not shoot to do that, and shooting is very critical right now when I'm fighting a whole bunch of mechs and vehicles. On the right side, my Protomech I win initiative. My Protomech then moves last, so it jumps out of any like VTOL line of sight or anything. And I was like, that's great. I have an infantry, and his Cougar has done the same thing. He's grabbed the other infantry and is running towards his edge. And I'm like, that's fine. He's allowed 1 infantry, but that's it. But on the left side of the table, really all I have is the Warcrow, the White Raven, and the Stormbird battle armor against what's left, which is the crossbow, the Cyclops, and the last Jest2. This turn, I do actually kill the Jest2, and I've still got the infantry, there, but not secured. So I'm just like really holding that side. The next turn, though, it gets a little squirrely. I have to decide, do I kill the crossbow, which can move faster and do more damage, or the Cyclops, which technically doesn't have anything to like C3 master now. I've killed everything up. I've up the C3 chain, which I think is funny. I decide just to kill the Cyclops because it's the tankiest. Weirdly, it has the same armor as the crossbow. It's just like the armor and structure for those two are swapped. So one has more armor, the other one has more structure. So killing the Cyclops was technically easier in that regard. And on the right side, he's consolidated his Balak, which has taken some damage to like be there and holding that VTOL with the Cyclops. So his Cyclops and his Balak are essentially out of range for any shots on the left side. And because you need 2 units to control the VTOL, he's not willing to risk putting any of those units onto the left side where the main fight is still happening. There was a wild moment, though, where there were 3 options for him to shoot the crossbow at. He could either shoot the Stormbird battle armor with TMM1, the Warcrow, which is jumping for TMM3, or the White Raven with TMM3. And he decides to split shots between the Warcrow and the Stormbird, which only has like 2 health because it took some artillery or whatever. He misses. No, it has 1 health. And he misses with the split fire. And I was like, oh, This is why you don't split fire on things with 1 health. Because if they have 1 health, they will stay with 1 health. And he gets lit up like in response to that. So I was like, oh, it hurt. It hurt for me to exploit it. But that's pretty much when the game went to me. Next turn, he jumps his Urban Mech Arrow 4 out because it's all that's really left. My VTOL, it goes behind it. It's got 4 health. In the rear, the Gossamer does 4. I need like a 6 up or something, and I land every shot. So it dies as soon as it hopped up. I was like, it hurts, but it hurts good. So at this point, he has the Wounded Balak, the Cyclops, and I have not shot the Warcrow and White Raven that turn so as to grab the infantry objectives. And I have secured the VTOL with, the 3 units there. So really, we just call it. Because I could technically push and I could kill the Balak and like make him score 1 less. But I was like, but then I'm risking my stuff. So I feel like we were both comfortable enough with what we had left that we could just call it and do a tactical retreat almost. I run the White Raven off with the infantry to score the get 2 infantry off the board, and the Stormbird and the Warcrow stay there on the VTOL. So securing that. So at the end, I have 4 technical objectives, and he has 2, with 1 being an infantry and 1 being a VTOL. And I'm like, that's acceptable. I will take that. At the end, we have to like technically roll to see which the objective the VIP is in, which I thought was cool. And it goes to me. So one of the objectives I had was the true objective. So I finished that game with 24 points. But that was probably my favorite game to end Southern Assault out of the 2 other ones I've been to. So Tim was an excellent player. We were both like perfectly like, hey, we're not playing for the like top table anymore. We're just here to have fun and be casual. And it was wonderful. Like least stressful last game I've ever had, and wouldn't have traded it for anything.
All right, so we finally made it. We're coming into game 6. For me, game 6 is always the most relaxed game I play. For some reason, I feel like maybe just for me, the pressure is off on game 6. So let me tell you about my opponent for game 6, and let me tell you about the mission. First, I'll tell you about the mission. So the mission this year was kind of, I guess you played this one before at Nova, or a variant of this at Nova. So anyways, Gone is the mission where you have to stand still, eat a whole bunch of fire to try to pick up a pod, stand still and not shoot. It is replaced with this other mission where there are 2 downed helicopters, and there's some objectives that you can like take off the board. So there's 2 down choppers that you're trying to control at the end of the game, and there are 4 sets of like infantry things or whatever that you can capture with any unit that's not like a battle armor unit or an infantry unit, and then you can take it off the board, removing your unit from play, not counting as destroyed. At the end of the game, one of your secondaries is for rescuing the governor, and the way that works is you just assign 1 through 6, because there's 6 objectives. You assign the objectives, and then you roll to see which objective actually had the governor in it. So yeah, that's game 6. I like this mission much more than the one it replaced. I had a lot of fun. The wording was a little strange here or there, but I think we mostly wrapped our heads, my opponent and I read the mission right and played it right. So speaking of my opponent, my game 6 opponent is Richard Proctor. So Richard and I get started on game 6. We have kind of another shooting gallery sort of a map. There's a large structure on my left, just a couple of rocks on the right, some small rocks that are going to give 1 to maybe 2 units some partial cover. And let me tell you about what Richard brought to game 6. He brought, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so he brought like a Nova kind of a situation. There is a Timberwolf D, maybe. My picture's a little fuzzy. There's a Shadowcat, a Vulture Mark D, a Dire Wolf, and a Kingfisher. He's got a lot of battle armor. I think he has 5. He's got a Rogue Bear, Elemental that does 2/2/0. The Rogue Bear does like 4/2/0. Another Rogue Bear, a Callisto. All right, so we got 2 Callistos, 2 Rogue Bears, and a standard Elemental. And the Callistos do 3/3/0. And the Rogue Bears are chunky. They've got 3 armor, 2 structure. Elementals are 2 and 2, and the Callistos have 1 armor, 2 structure. So it's kind of, just a standard Nova situation. And Richard just null deploys on my right and puts all of his units on the left. So I offer token force. I'm pretty sure my choppers can come in, turn 1, land, and escape with the 2 objectives on the right. And he didn't put anything to contest the objectives on the right. So I do that. I deploy my choppers and I put my 2 vedettes out there to try to hold that. And I think I have enough, if I can kind of finesse it, to kind of at least hold him off of the objectives on my left or try to take some of them. So turn 1, we start out. He makes a run in with his Shadowcat, and I make a run on. He makes a run in on the left with his Shadowcat. I have all my slower, heavier units on the left, and he has nothing on my right, and I fly my choppers in. So turn 1, my choppers are securing the objective. His Shadowcat's moving in. Turn 2, he puts his Shadowcat on one of the infantry objectives to capture. And his heavier units are starting to come into range of my heavier units, and they're all trading fire. I've got my Hellbringer on that side, I've got my Komodo on that side, and my Cougar's kind of waiting to do its ambusher thing behind the large structure that's on the left. Turn 3, your choppers are off the board. The Shadowcat is off the board or nearly off the board. So I've got those 2 objectives, and he's going to have that 1 objective. And then we start really brawling over the chopper, the one that you want to hold at the end of the game. I've got my vedettes securing the other objective on my right, the objective that you want to hold at the end of the game. And it's just a bloodbath. Our vultures get in there, everything dies. I land quite a bit of artillery on his infantry units, but they still take a long time to clean up because there's just a lot of armor and structure in those 5 battle armors. I kind of almost destroy all the units towards the end of the game, but I don't think I'm quite able to hold the 1 objective. I do secure another infantry. No, I hold the objective, but I'm not able to, I don't have enough time to get the other infantry objective and bring it back off of my table. So if I had sent a vedette in, which I kind of contemplated sending a vedette after they had found a hold down position and were easily holding that objective on my right, I could have held it with 1 vedette, but I was just worried that he might send something to contest that if I didn't leave my 2 vedettes, but I probably could have sent it out. Either way, at the end of the game, our scoring differential is 18 for me and 7 for Richard, because I get 2 of the points off and I'm holding 1, and he only has 1 point off the board. And then secondaries, I got quite a bit of the secondaries for this mission. My fastest unit survived the match and exited. Those were one of my choppers, counted as the fastest unit, and definitely got off with a governor party. I destroyed a unit carrying a governor party. Oh, I guess I did. Maybe I destroyed the... Oh, that's right. He did get the Kingfisher. He was trying to get an infantry objective off the table, and I ended up heating up the Kingfisher and eventually destroying it. So that's the one that gets dropped on the left-hand side. So I get a point for that, destroying unit carrying a party. I had my vedettes hold the VTOL objective for 3 turns. And so I get points for that. And I got 2 or more off, so I score 5 for that. 2 or more of the governor parties off the board. And I controlled the governor at the end of the game. So basically, he had 1 point. There were 2 points uncontested, and then I had controlled 1 and 2 off the table. So basically, you have 6 objectives, and you assign each of the objectives 1 face of a D6, and then you roll the D6 and see who's got the governor. So you control more points. It's more likely that you'll control the governor, but it's not guaranteed. So all in all, I think this one's 28-7 at the end of the game. And then it's off to the packing up and the waiting, the tallying, and the award ceremony. I think after game 6, I kind of get placed in the middle of the pack ranking wise, but some congratulations are in order. So you have to remember that there's quite a number of categories. So you have best overall. That's where all of your points in sportsmanship, your tactical general points, your painted and hobby points, and your what do you call it? Sportsmanship are all rolled together into best overall. So first place, best overall, we have Stephen Maisel. Congratulations. Second place is Richard Johnson, and third place is William Letizia. Then we have best general. So these are your tactical points, your points on the field. In first place, we have James Hemstock. Second place, we have Charles Abbott. And third place, we have Craig Lighton. Best sportsmanship. First place goes to Eric Walton. Second place goes to Fritz Miro. And third place is Ben Jumper. And best painted, we have first place Dustin Fagg. Second place Justin Hall. And third place Andrew McGee. Congratulations to those folks. Best hobbyist. So this is an interesting category because I think it's just your tactician points are dropped. So this is a combination of your painted score, your sportsmanship score, and best hobbyist went to Greg Running. Player's choice for best painted also went to me. One more observation for best general. So we talk a lot about meta and lists and tricks and what's hot and what's not. But I wanted to talk about James Hemstock. I asked if he could send me his list because I was curious. I hadn't interacted with James at all throughout the whole entire tournament. There were a lot of people 82 this year, so that was a very possible thing to happen. But yeah, I just wanted to check out the best generals list, and I was heartened by what he sent me. James's list has a Gargoyle C, Mad Dog E, Mad Cat B, I think, Stormcrow H, Summoner C, Dragonfly E, Hellbringer F. I'm sorry, I'm switching between Inner Sphere and clan names here. And one Elemental Battle Armor. So this is, a skill 3, 2-star list with really no hat tricks or silly things going on. Just good units, solid skirmishers on the field. And he did work with that list. So good to see. You don't need to, win Alpha Strike in the list building phase. You can just bring solid units and just play tactically and win that way. So there you go.
Yeah, I came away with 7th overall, so that was pretty happy for me. Like, this wasn't a balls to the wall kill list, and I didn't think it really had any weird gimmicks besides being crit resistant, and I don't feel like that's even a gimmick because it's really just your opponent has to roll a number on crits. Like, they can kill you without it. So, but yeah, overall, I would say I had more fun at this Southern Assault than I have the others, and that's not saying the other ones weren't fun. That would just say that this one was more fun. I very much enjoyed each and every one of my opponents. I enjoyed fighting each of their lists. There was no single point where I was like completely taken out and wanted to scream and be like, this is why I don't want to come to these. Like, there wasn't any of that. It was just good, fun, homegrown playing. It was great talking with everyone, just hanging out in between matches. The yard sale that was there was like a personal, like, cool thing of mine. Like, I've always wanted something. Like, the problem with me going to these tournaments is I never get a chance to shop and like even the little knick-knack swag, like that stuff. But Rob had the whole like buffet style spread of all of the like bargain bin things that he's not willing to put out in the store or use or damage. And that I have to thank Joshua Franklin / NC Crestrel for handing me a bag of, like, I think it was, the total count was 54 Protomechs that I got for like dirt cheap because, well, they were poorly painted, a little dinged up, and it's like, yeah, I will take those. I got a Naga, so I was already planning to get one of those. And what's the other thing I got? I got an old Mechwarrior like magazine, I guess. I'll have to do some more research about that. But I got one with a Black Knight on the cover. It has like a fan-made Black Knight 2C on the inside. So that's like my, I didn't even know this existed, and I've never seen this art. So that's going to go on the wall, and I'm pretty happy about that. My closing thoughts on the missions were they were super fun to play this year. I think the only one, which is kind of the weird one, is how do you make King of the Hill with line of sight blocking like perfect? But that's kind of the thing. It's like it's not going to be perfect, so you have to play around it. I enjoyed everything I took in my list. I would probably drop the 2 War Crows and just take 1, just call it whatever. Maybe take like a tankier assault or something that can just throw long range fire. That could be pretty cool. If anything, I don't want to say I would drop the Stormbirds, but like they are a weird assault battle armor that does a lot of damage. And in Classic, they're really tanky, and they don't move very much. They move 2, but like in Classic, you take them, they move 2 inches, and jump elementals move 3. So like the mobility issue isn't that much in Classic. In Alpha Strike, you drop them. They got Team M1, which is just from being battle armor, and they do 3 damage, so that's great. But for 21 points, like I could take 2 Protomechs, and those are moving independently and doing their own cool things. I don't want to say I would take Protomechs again, but I would definitely give more consideration to just taking a point of Protomechs that do weird, fun things like indirect fire, jump strong, magnetic clamp. Like there's all these weird ones that I was thinking of, and I decided to take a VTOL instead. And I really liked my VTOL. Like it was pretty good. It only got shot down twice, and the other times it just was constantly harassing and tanking shots, which is what it's supposed to do. Would I take artillery next year instead? Maybe. I think you shouldn't have both in your list. I don't think you should have artillery and VTOLs and expect both to do well, because both are like kind of non-interactive for a lot of missions, like whether it be objectives or holding the line or getting across the field, like that kind of stuff. Like shockingly, I didn't play artillery on the get across the field, and I didn't play VTOLs on the like have to be on the ground really. So I think those are 2 big things to think about. Like artillery is good, but if you're gonna go full in, that's a unit that can't do anything else, kind of stuff. So you either have to keep it really cheap, or you have to put it on a chassis or platform that can do something else and be effective at it. But those are my thoughts on like Southern Assault as a whole. I'd have to like once again give a shout out to Rob from Fortress Mentors and Games for putting on an amazing and excellent tournament / event / big BattleTech hangout. Like it's the only place in the country where not everyone can like scatter away and like, oh, I played that guy and I never saw him again. It's like, no, after you play someone, you're normally sitting there talking to him for like another 15-20 minutes. So I think that's really cool. But I think that's enough of you guys having to listen to me. And as always, our field reporter, Dustin, brought his little microphone and he got some sweet, sweet interviews with all the other people that were there. So I'm going to leave it to him and send you guys off with some fun interviews. I'm Josh, and we are the Mech Bay Podcast, and we will catch you next time, Mechwarriors.
Saul, how's it going?
Not great. The crabs are suffering a moral defeat.
A moral or a tactical defeat?
Yes.
All right, over here to Lord Carbon himself.
Hello.
How's it going? How's the game going? I can kind of look at the table and see, but go ahead and tell our listeners.
I'm using all my luck tonight instead of the rest of the weekend.
Excellent. We're going Crabback 2023 belongs to the Hunchbacks.
Woo! We have raised over $1,000 for the Children's Miracle Network, and that in and of itself is phenomenal. So I want to thank everybody here that did in fact donate. It's very much appreciated, and we're just glad that we can do something fun for the kids, and you continue to show that the BattleTech community is the most generous and friendly group of wargamers that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to try to get some people this year where this is their first year out. So give me your name.
Matthew Rogers.
And where'd you come in from, Matthew?
Up outside the D.C. area.
All right, and just one question for you this year. How you feel about Southern Assault?
Yeah, I had a great time. Definitely worth the drive down and the drive up today. Definitely going to need some more Starbucks, but fantastic. Did not win more than I lost, unfortunately. It was close, but definitely would do it again. Met some amazing people. The staff has been amazing, really working with everything and the amount of work that went into this. This is probably one of the better gaming events, regardless of game itself, that I've ever been to.
Yeah, no, glad you had a good time coming out here.
No, I really appreciate it, and I look forward to next year.
Dan, there you are. Can I bother you for a second? But go ahead and introduce yourself. Give me your name.
Hey, I'm Dan Copeland. It's my first time playing Southern Assault, so I was super excited to be here.
Where'd you come from?
Oh, flew out from New Mexico today.
First time out at Southern Assault, right?
Yes, first time.
All right, how you feel about Southern Assault?
I had a great time. There were some ups and downs, but I ended on a high note. The last battle that I had just now was probably the best one I've had so far, and I had a really cool opponent, so that was great.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for coming out. I almost died. Give me your name.
Magnum Danger on the Discord, Richard Johnson in real life.
Man, you want to dox yourself already?
What? Yeah, whatever. Try to find a Richard Johnson out there. Good luck on that.
Yeah, right. So this is your first year out at Southern Assault, right?
Yes, first year over here, and a wonderful experience. I had a ton of fun. I'm very tired and worn out, but it was amazing time. 6 great opponents. Went really well.
Excellent, excellent. And did I ask you where you came in from?
You did not. I am came in from Seattle, so I think I'm the farthest traveler, probably.
We would have to check New Mexico versus Seattle, but I think Seattle's further.
Yeah, it was a full day of I mean, I didn't drive. I flew, but it was a lot of time on an airplane, but totally worth it.
Well, Blake willing, we'll see you again next year.
Thank you very much, and thank you for what you guys do for the podcast.
All right, no problem. What would you call this? An inaugural trip out to Southern Assault?
Yes, absolutely. It was great. I've been hearing about it on the podcast, so I decided to come down this time. And up until the last second, I was just going to hang out and be a reserve, but I decided to join in.
Are you happy about that decision?
Yeah, I had a great time. This is probably one of the best run tournaments I've ever seen. And once I found out it was ran by a principal, I'm like, okay, it makes all sense. He's used to herding the cats. I had no bad opponents. Nobody was sitting there just trying to go bloodthirsty and go for the kills. I mean, I'm terrible. So, nobody, once you're down in the cellar like me, nobody's, it's like we all know the game. Everybody was great. Everybody had a good time. Everybody I ran into had a good time. Shaking hands, talking, trading stories. So
come out for the vibes, go home with a smile, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. And where did you come in from? And your name, just in case I didn't ask you your name.
Oh, you didn't ask my name. I'm Jason Hanza. I came in down from Richmond. So me and my buddy Chucky Stocky.
All right. Thanks for coming down.
All right, thanks.
Okay. The first voice you're going to hear here is Robert Ash, tournament organizer for Southern Assault. First of all, thank you for putting this on every year. It's got to be a lift, like a tremendous undertaking.
Definitely takes a little bit of planning and some time to get it working, but it's fun. It's all good.
You're the shepherd of this community out here. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you. No, I appreciate y'all coming.
So I heard you want a hot interview with the 62nd ranked player at this tournament?
That's right. The hottest of interviews. All right.
Maybe even that high.
First of all, for those of everybody who don't read the jacket on their books from Catalyst Game Labs, can you introduce yourselves to our listeners?
I'm Ray Arassi. I'm the line developer for BattleTech.
I'm Aaron Cahill. I'm the assistant line developer for BattleTech.
How far did you come in from? Where do you come from?
From Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
I'm from northeast of Baltimore, Maryland.
So you guys played in Southern Assault.
It was great. Really great. Important for us to do.
Really good show.
How you feel about your games? How you feel about your lists? You're not going to escape the basic questions.
I really enjoyed playing my list, and the games were typical. I did really well in some, really poorly in others, and some were a draw.
From a meta, the list was fine, but I enjoyed. So I played 3153 SLDF, kind of like a teaser. And that was fun. It was fun to see that out there, to paint a Mad Cat in olive drab and put a Star League decal on it next to a Delore and a Lament that are Republic mechs. So for that part of it, could I have been more competitive? Sure. I could have been deeper in the meta, but it was great. It was a lot of fun to have that on the tabletop finally.
Yeah, and you're literally the only person coming to the tournament that was allowed to do it, right? You got to sneak that one in?
Yeah, they bent the rules a little bit, and then I think they kind of made some other exceptions to make it less and really the exception was to get, I think, the Lament in. Yeah. It wasn't the most powerful mech, but it was that next to a Delore, next to the Clan Omnis was the visual I was going for. So it wasn't hey, can I take this busted piece of artillery?
Yeah, no, I walked past the table and I'm like, that is a strange looking collection of mechs right there. So I don't want to keep you for too much longer. My one big question is you guys are your line developer. One probably obvious part about Southern Assault is that half of the Alpha Strike game, i.e. the formation abilities and special pilot abilities, is kind of missing. You were talking about meta earlier, so obviously it's going to develop its own kind of meta or whatever, but what do you think about this version of the game being played in a tournament? And I know BattleTech's big on take what you want, do what you want, so do you have any thoughts?
Well, I would like to see eventually formation abilities be adopted. It's just they add another layer of complexity to it, and another layer that people would have to check beforehand for tournaments and everything. But I would love to see that. That would be a whole nother level of meta and flavor for every force that I saw was they would have their own distinct style on top.
I think the key to that, and we haven't had deep discussions about this or anything, but I think there you'd want to start looking at formats for tournaments because the force packs are built along formation lines. So it might be that you have to play what's in a force pack, coherent, like almost like a sealed event, like in CCGs, where you would have to not pop them literally out of the box. You could paint them, but you'd have to play set pieces because otherwise you get it, like Ray said, you could get into, some real angle shoots where this is technically a battle lance of stuff that's TMM4. So it gets some horrible striker, attack ability, but it's also faster than anything. That's when you start giving benefits to things, and we have as many units in the game as we do. You have to restrict the number of units or not do the abilities. Right. Doing both starts, as he said, you get into, just what we saw today. There's so much flavor, so many different ways to build a force, and now you start adding benefits on top, benefits even, not just restrictions.
Now, I know I've talked to locals about that, and not a lot of people bring long range because it's not used a lot. In some ways, long range doesn't hit. And I'm like, because there's no direct fire lance. Direct fire lance, I have played Alpha Strike with direct fire lances. All of a sudden, that long range damage is coming in clutch. Yep. So you don't see it here because of the meta.
Artillery seems to have taken its place.
Yeah.
No one brings an alarm carrier, but people are packing artillery. They're packing long. That's long range. If everything's indirect anyway,
exactly.
The best indirect fire unit, which is artillery.
Exactly.
Sort of the alarm carriers too. I played some of those, but
they're calling using formation abilities like Pandora's box, and I'm like, I want to open that box. I want to see what's in there.
I'm with you.
Yep,
I'm with you.
When it creates, it also, if you think about it, events like this that are very well developed, have established players, good TOs, could handle something like that. But when you think of like a sealed format, would be something in an LGS that's smaller. They want to do something over the course of a day with TOs who aren't operating at the level Bobby is. That's where you get into it makes tournament play more accessible instead of having to only have a few big events. People could pop open a box and play a quick tournament with 8 players at a local store, and that's what grows the game too. Otherwise it's like saying the only organized play for 40K would be some huge tournament, but that isn't the case. It's everywhere. So.
All right, well, you guys got to go home, too. I don't want to keep you for too long. Thanks for answering a fun question and telling us about your experience at Southern Assault.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure. Really great to be here out with people and seeing the game. It's important.
All right. Thanks, guys. Drive safe.
Thank you.